started with our workshop. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. First item is the invocation. If we can have Chief, can lead us in the invocation.
Please, let's bow our heads. Dear Lord, we come before you on this meeting to give us the direction, the wisdom, and the courage to make the right decisions and keep everybody, pray for everybody in attendance to make sure that we proceed with a budget process and allow each director to present their needs and provide the best services we can for the city of San Juan. In your name we pray. Amen.
Commissioner Maldonado, can you lead us in the prayer?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, city budget for fiscal year 2015-2016, goal setting session. Want to take over, Chief?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioners. Before you, there's some booklets that we have presented to you all in front of you. That's a budget workshop booklet 2. That's what a budget workshop booklet that we're going to be referring to. And you also have some handouts that provided. Basically, what we want to do on this session is the fact that we come before you all to for our department heads to make sure that they provide some feedback to you all on their needs of the city and San Juan for next fiscal year. I wanted them to come before you and highlight those major points or major areas in which they are focusing most of the time. Of course, there's a lot of budget items there that there are standard operating, expenses and so forth that we did not include in there, but the booklet number 2 has all that. But we're going to focus mainly on this handout that we provided to you all and just go by each department and just present the increases or decreases. Mind you, we already made some cuts, and I can refer to page number 1 on your budget workshop, budget workbook number 2, or you can go to page number 1. Our current budget is $10,158,169. You got the year to date actual. The projected year to end as well is going to be below what we have projected for the year. But also, the department requested the number that you see below there is $15,106,745. Well, that was a number that was through the goal setting from each department. That's what was submitted to us. We made some cuts already and some adjustment myself in the finance department, and the number that you see to city manager recommended, $11,487,626. That's what we recommended right now. But we still, the number below that, the $2,003,288, that's still, in order for us to present a balanced budget, that's the amount of money that we still got to look at and address. And that's why we come before you all to, I wanted to give the department heads an opportunity for them to come forward and present to you all as to what direction the Mayor Pro Tem and Commission want to take. What are the departments that, every department has needs, of course, but we're going to need to focus on the needs that are immediate. Mind you, we still have, tomorrow's another budget workshop that we're doing with the streets. We have that plan of action going on already, and we got some other projects that are in place for the city of San Juan as well, but I wanted to make sure that each department head had an opportunity to come before you all before we go back for our second round of assessment on the budget and cutting what areas we're going to cut and so forth. But that's what we're here for. So there's going to be a second budget meeting as well to finalize the budget. We got to do it before September 30th. Will be a final date that we got to finalize the budget. So any Mayor Pro Tem, Commissioner, any questions that you might have, the directors here have been asked to answer them as to their needs. So I would like for this meeting to be very interactive and giving them an opportunity also to state their cause for the increase or the decrease in some of the budget areas. I know that I met with them already, and we went to and highlighted those major points, those major areas that we felt that we could work with as the years go by. So it's just something that before you is what they have requested. So We can start off real quick. We can pick and choose, Mayor Pro Tem Commissioners, which department you want to discuss first, and then second and so forth, or we can go in order. I know that Mrs. Sin has to leave. She has a very important, yes.
No, I would say let's just go
Yeah.
in
okay.
order.
In order, okay, so as you can.
Well, if she needs to go, I mean, we started with her.
Yes,
Yeah,
Mrs. Sin. So, and again, this is something that, what I'm seeking here, what myself and the, finance department, we're seeking here is that give us direction, and then we can come back and focus on the fact that we need to concentrate on this department. I know that, the public works section, sanitation section, we need a major, new vehicles. But those are some of the things that we got, same thing as the fire department, so, but we're talking about personnel, capital outlay, we're talking about, in order for us to provide the better services for City of San Juan and the residents, we're gonna have to look at different areas to make sure that we fund certain things, with the current budget that we have and the projected budget that we have, as to make sure that we be able to provide the services. So, Mr. Sin, go ahead.
The budget for the library from the board, budget ordinance number July 16, 2015, page 56.
I mean, in your handout page, on the second
On
page.
the second page. I think the handout is much easier to look at the capital outlay, other equipment. That's where I got reduced 2894. Because I had budgeted 1720 to pay for software, but it's a 3-year. So I already paid this year, so I have 2 more years. So for next year, I don't need the 1720. I will need it for the following year, 16, 17. So I will put it back. So it's cut and dry. I work with the chief on doing the budget, and I think I am okay with the budget that I have right now. It's about the same that I had last year, so it will probably meet my needs for now. I'm not estimating capital outlay the regular. But
I have a few questions, Ms. Sin.
oh, sure.
Actually, I do. Actually, I do. Just briefly, you're requesting full-timer, but we already have someone doing the Sundays. Is that correct?
No, I was requesting a part-timer.
Okay.
One part-timer.
2 part-timers?
No, just one.
Okay.
The other one is from this year's budget.
Okay, so we have a
Yeah.
part-timer and
Yes,
another one to
and
try
I
to make a
was requesting
full-time
one
position.
to work only 12 hours to work weekends, so I can give the full-time staff time off during the weekends, but, I mean, if it's not,
What I'd like to see, and I don't know if it would be out of your budget, we have, well, at least I've requested in the past years to be able to provide with the Rio Grande Literacy Program some, I believe we were quoted maybe, I mean, maybe it's quoting, but 6,000 for about 2 classes for the whole year to service about 20 adults. And I know our people go and participate at the FAR Center. So I'd like to be able to entertain that. I know that we offer a few classes, but I do want to, and if it's 6,000 or if it's 15,000, it's an investment into our adult program here. And I'd like to be able to, if you would do for me, get that information, what that would be, and bring it back to the table. And I'm interested in doing a year program, and English as a second language, and the GED, maybe English and Spanish. And if you can check with them. And then also, if you would check with the school district, if that's what's available through them, that we're not duplicating services as well, but maybe the timing. And I really am interested in getting that on a program here at the library. So if you can do that for me, I would appreciate that. And then bring it back at the next time so we can have at least a money figure on that. All right, thank you.
Okay. Just for
Yes, sir. doing this?
Yeah, just look at that. Yeah, because
Complex.
and that's not the official one yet until it's finalized.
I'm just saying, because these are not matching this anyways.
Right now, because it's just a change.
Okay, but that's what we're doing this year, not this year.
This is just the numbers, the raw numbers.
Okay.
Right now, we do negotiate.
The raw numbers will be the next time we get together. I got you. Okay, very good.
The next, we have, the legislative. Hassan?
The changes were for the, it's under, let's see, other professional services, it's on page 8 for legislative, and it would be to add the safe routes to school, which was approved. It was last approved on August 27, 2013. It was for 10 schools to have sidewalks. So it would just be adding the 25,000 there.
That's going to be a recurring cost every year, Ms. Carmen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why is
And
it under legislative?
That's,
Aid to governments, Mayor, and they put them in the legislative line item, they've always have.
Had it before, right?
No, we didn't pay it last year, we should have.
for the past 2 years we haven't had.
No.
So that's a new,
This is our matching part of the grant, or?
Our agreement to the safe routes.
Okay, and when did that get approved?
August 27, 2013.
Okay. And who does the compliance on that?
that's going to be Chanel, grants, right?
City part of it, but it's in conjunction with the school, or it's just us? School, okay.
You said this was August 27, 2013?
It's going to be a recurring cost.
Every year. Okay.
Anything else you was going to say? No, we talked about the consulting services.
I had amount on other professional services, and Chief had zeroed it out, but that would be for in case if y'all ever need like a consultation or anybody, because it used to be the focus advocacy. So how much would we estimate to put in that? 0? But wouldn't it be for the charter amendment, would we need
Okay,
to?
well, if you face it that way.
So we
Okay,
would
so
need
you're
to
looking for
put-
anybody who's work be consulting other
Yes.
than lobbyists?
Correct.
Okay.
We zeroed it out on the last time, so I zeroed it out on that, but we wanted to make sure there's anything that we need to put in there for, specifically for the charter amendments that we gotta do, or any consulting.
How much have we been putting away in the past couple of years?
No, 5,000.
5,000.
So that-
Because I had safe routes to school twice, that's why.
we had 5,000 last year?
We still have the special events, the Thanksgiving event, 5,000, and the pre-Christmas, 15,000, all that still. Was there any other dues membership that we have to include, remember that?
Wanted to be a member of the conference
That is
of
correct.
mayors.
Yes.
It's 3,489.
And I want to tell you what benefit comes from being with that.
Okay.
There's two main conferences that happen throughout the year, but what it does is it allows us to be able to tap into some grants that have to do with various areas in the city. They gave away $150,000 this past year for grants to the city when they had a program the city could do whatever they wanted with them for a program to do something, including the city with agencies that work within the city, having to do with health. And so they granted the city $150,000. They give about four to five awards through the nation for the cities that participated. They gave grants also for beautification of the city. They gave grants, made grants available for volunteerism and programs that can be established with the city. They also make available the information necessary if we wanted, when we're talking about direct training on national issues. One of the big ones was the police and the different incidents that have been happening, and we're talking about national standards to be established. And basically what you do is you're at the table working on the national standards that would come down and affect the cities directly. And I think that the opportunities that come up from being at this, and while it's a mayor's conference, members of the commission can also attend when these are available, but you are actual participants in creating the laws and in putting in your input to create the laws that are come out of DC. And when I was there back in January, we had directly with the secretaries of state and the cabinet of President Obama, and we got to sit with him as well. But what you do is you're able to, you get the papers that they write, you get input in it, and then you get to be in several of the committees, and those decisions actually get adopted and become something that gets formulated and pushed through legislation at the national level.
Is this once a year, Mayor, or?
There's twice.
Twice a year?
One's in DC, in typically January, then the other one is cities that host it. But Ms. Gonzalez has been getting some of that correspondence that comes, and it's consistent of information, things that would impact us, information that we're not aware of, up and coming trends, and those kinds of things. So that's why I'm requesting that we be members of that.
But it's not here.
I have it undefined
Undefined?
dues.
Sandra, what about the Texas Border Coalition? I mean, we're gonna be part of that or not? Because that's another additional.
Not in this one, it's under this one.
Oh, that's what I'm saying, it's not in this one.
No, it's not that one, because they've budgeted before, but they never used it. So it's under 40.
Oh, 5,000 right there.
But we define it, what would it be?
Conference of Mayors.
Conference of
U.S.
Mayors.
Conference of Mayors. No, they're not even members. And that's all.
The next one will be the city manager. The only thing that changed there is that we added the dues, Ms. Carmen, for the LRGVDC.
Yes.
How much was the dues that we gotta pay every year as well?
Yes.
How much was it?
For, which one, I'm sorry?
The LRGVDC, I think it was the $5,000 that we gotta pay yearly?
Yes, every year. We didn't budget for it, and so now we have
Last
to
year we had
budget,
to
because we're
budget, so
paying
we
it
have
every
to
year. The LRGBDC,
The Rio Grande Valley.
Northern Council. No. We had to, we paid it this year, but it wasn't budgeted.
City Secretary's office?
Printing and binding. And office supplies and food, ice, and bottled waters. Everything else stayed the same.
Who did we hire? Who did we hire? And what is she for?
Records manager?
I do have a suggestion. Well, on the printing and binding, is that for our things, or when we have presentations, or what is that? You have it under 4230. You said, you talked about I think allotted was 5,000 and we only did about 1,500. 4230, under
520, yeah.
Postage,
printing and binding.
printing and binding. It's birth certificates, awards and plaques, and printing envelopes. That's what it is.
I know that many years ago, we did a newsletter. What I like to be able to, because one of the things that we find is that residents are not aware of the things that get passed or happen. What I know that Mr. Baca had worked it to where we can put how many, and hello, how many can we put in an envelope without raising a postage? So it'd be the actual bill itself? Yeah. Front and back.
And that would just be the cost of paper.
Okay.
So it'd be under the paper.
So you would just have it under paper?
Yes.
I'd like to be able to revisit that, and maybe
Okay.
having even, if we wanted to include a separate page, just because we want to do English and Spanish, we'd be able to put that information in there. Because not everybody has the access to the postings that we might be doing on the internet. I think the rest of you do include it as part of, like, when you did the rabies, you put it in there, and it becomes effective because the people actually get to open it. So I like to consider at least on a quarterly basis, and then the possibility that if we needed to do an extra page. I don't know how much more that would increase. Do you know how much more that would be, Mr. Baca? Minimum? Postage, no? Okay. Okay. So if we stayed at about 2 pages, the page for the bill and then 2 pages for the newsletter or another insert, we'd be pretty much at the same.
I think we did calculate it at one point, the 6,000 customers that we're sending bills to, it would be close to $300 to $400 every time we send a flyer with the bill.
Extra. Okay.
$29 for 5,000 sheets of paper, so it's very minimal.
6,000.
Yeah, well, I'm saying about.
Baca, we also talked about sending an electronic newsletter as well, posted it on the website. So creating also, we're gonna create a hard copy. At the same time, we're gonna create also an electronic newsletter that we can also be able to, remember we talked about the posting also, having that newsletter. Because we know we did only hard copy back then, but we talked about how much would be the cost. I mean, I don't think it would be any cost, but it would be a lot of hours, employee hours developing that newsletter.
That's what we learned from the years that I've been here. It's not how to do it or the problem is not cost-wise.
Okay.
The problem is we don't have a person who writes the information. We can design it, we can print it,
Okay.
we can send it. Everything is, we need a person who writes. We don't have a person who's dedicated to do a newsletter.
Okay, so,
That's our
so maybe the suggestion could be, let's say that you know you're gonna have the rabies shot in August, for example, and you calendar your events with enough time, then you can actually have the department do a paragraph to be able to include it. If something's changed on the rates at the planning, then somebody at planning, Mr. Cervantes, you can designate to make a short excerpt to be able to put into that newsletter. So not necessarily one person, but if just like you write your department reports, but in a more summary and a synopsis of what is important to highlight so that the residents know we're gonna have a rabies shot, we're about to increase our rates, we're going to have you probably do a separate one for the registrations, or even a small one, to be able to do that. Or this week, this quarter, we're doing the quadrant on the north side when it comes to the mail or the amnesty program. And I think that therefore we're not really designating one person, but you designate one person within your department and we can limit that to, a paragraph of so many sentences, so that we estimate that if you need it more, then it'd be a matter of planning it with enough time so that it gets out quarterly and we're able to have every department participate so that information comes out. And we're not really looking, and then basically, if you're the one handling it, you do the proofreading and making sure that, before it gets out there, that gets put out. But I think it's real important. And I think that, as we get phone calls, people keep asking the same questions. People aren't getting the information.
The other thing also we did with the finance department, Mayor, is that, Commissioner, is that we defray the cost from all the advertisement that's being done by each department head and each department when they got new employees, stuff like that. All that is being shifted to the HR department. So we concentrate on the HR department is going to do any advertisement. So any other advertisement that has to do other than that employees hiring is going to be done. You know, we're going to centralize it. So, more likely in the city secretary's office to make sure that it comes from there. So, so we're saving some money in other areas that we can be able to do some of this stuff. You know, so try to, because not every department is always seeking new employees. So,
Right. And if we do it quarterly, it's not like a burden that you have to have somebody do something every month, but something that you feel that is of significance for that particular quarter that you know that we routinely do to make sure that they know that we start participating and doing that. Like when you announce we have free Wi-Fi for the whole city, so that it gets out there.
When we had the newsletter, it was a very successful newsletter. You know, and I think that the challenge is going to be, Mayor Commissioner, is going to be the content of the letter.
Right.
What we're going to be able to keep the readers interested, you know, and make sure that back then, Mr. Baca, we didn't have a survey or we didn't have something that feedback from the community as to, you know, but we place all the newsletters in all the governmental offices, you know, City Hall. Every director had a stand that they would put their newsletter in. So, but I think that we only are targeting those people that come visit our office. We need to, if we're going to do a newsletter, it's going to have to be something, you know, put it out there for.
With the accounts that go out, that's, I mean, and then everybody else has access to, who would have access to the, electronically.
I know that the brush pickup would be perfect example.
In every newsletter,
Yes.
so
Yeah,
people know.
You drive around the city, I mean, there's brush everywhere, you know, different locations, south, north, east side of the city. So I really think that we would benefit by doing that. You know, that's one issue. You know, there's.
Absolutely.
We can, the IT department can coordinate creating the whole, but we can, as long as we get the information, we can do the rest. If every department hands out the information to us, we do everything.
Setting a deadline certain, if it doesn't get in, it doesn't get in. And
But we need content, we don't, so that we can fill out 4 pages.
or depending what you get. And I think Ms. Sesson does good as far as translation. So putting it together and then making one side English and other side Spanish so that our Spanish-speaking residents would be also, you know, be able to understand what we're sending out to them. I mean, I'm volunteering her, but she does well when she does that.
Oh, it's going to have to come from city secretary.
Yeah.
It's something that city.
Well, Ms. Sesson, I mean, about on translations.
Anything else there, Sandra, then?
No.
Okay. Municipal Court, Ms. Enriquez. Excuse me real quick, I just want to make sure that I introduce our new finance director.
I figured that's who it was.
I apologize, yeah, so.
Huh?
So welcome.
Welcome.
Yes. Ms.
You can hit the ground running, sir.
Perfect timing.
It can be good or it can be bad.
You gotta make it good.
Go ahead. The travel and training? Okay. Then the main cheese, yeah. One of the things that I did ask Mr. Enriquez, Mayor Commissioner, is that the fact that for us to give us a number, obviously hiring a secondary city marshal to see the collection and part of it. But one of the things that I did ask was the fact that if we hire a part-time city marshal, if we do hire a part-time city marshal, then we will do away with our collection agency. Because he's gonna, you know, that's gonna be, am I correct? Is that the recommendation, right? Then if we do hire a part-time, we cannot hire a full-time because we don't have space. You know, hire a part-time, and what was the revenue that we will collect in the municipal court if we hire a part-time?
Varies. Sometimes it's a little bit more a week. If we hire a part-timer, it would be like half little bit more since he's gonna be concentrating on, getting new addresses and helping the full-timer, city marshal. Also, we would be, saving because we pay the collection agency a percentage for them also to, send out letters. So the part-time would be doing, the collection agency's work, so we would keep that revenue here in our city instead of paying them, monthly, like $800, $2,000. Also, since we were making calls, since they already have their percentage added to each violation, and the city marshal does the phone calls, they get their percentage when we did the phone call and collected for that amount. That's why it's better for us to get rid of the collection agency and just keep our revenue here, because that way we don't know who called, but they're getting that percentage that was collected by the city marshal.
What's the monthly collection of collection agency?
This past month in June, we did 24,000. So this month is going to be a little bit. A month, like it varies, like 1,800 to 2,000 a month. So that we would be keeping that amount if we hire a part-time, because he would be doing the work for that collection.
Okay, so they would collect 2,000, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Mayor, we did 24,000, you said this month?
Yes, the month of June for collections.
So the month of June, and you said our collection agency brings in around
2,000.
2,000 of that, so the other 22,000 was from our city marshal.
Yes.
We do have a contract, and I think it's either on a 30 days basis right now, or I don't know if we already have it's due. Can you find out when is it due? But I know that they're going at 30 months. Now,
What's part-time,
30
Chief?
30 day.
Part-time, 25 hours, 30 hours?
Yeah, part-time has to be less than 32 hours. Less than 30 hours.
30 hours.
Then we're gonna have to provide benefits.
Yeah.
What would be the hours that the part-timer would work? Would it be in the evening hours or?
In the morning hours? Morning.
Now, the other thing we also found out in the municipal court regulations, the fact that we identify a fund that there had not been, we have not assessed for those individuals that get citation. We collect $4 per citation, we call it the technology fund. And we haven't been collecting that for quite some years now. So we are working right now with making sure that we already have a city ordinance in place, that we can be doing that, but we need to make sure by law or by statute, if it has changed at all, so we can amend that city ordinance, so we can go back and collect that. So that'll be another revenue for the municipal court that we should collect. We already have it in place, we just gotta make sure that the ordinance is up to date by statute and by law. So she's working on that as well. And that technology fund, what it's gonna allow us to do also is that once we collect it, we can purchase equipment for like ticket readers, right, and stuff like that, and other stuff that we need. Right now, we only have a weapons scanner when they come inside the municipal court to make sure that nobody carrying weapons, stuff like that, when they pay the tickets, correct? So that's all we have, and security.
But that position is not included in the budget, is it?
No, that's something that we did talk about. We did talk about, but I wanted to come before the mayor commission to see, because she was just getting the raw numbers on that, if it's worth to go that route, and also on the benefit side as well, how much we'll be doing, because we cannot pay him contractual. It has to be, part-time. Anything else, Ms. Enriquez?
So I've got some questions on that. You know, I'm always wanting to see the cost effectiveness of having to put one more person. So you're saying that he would average about $400, because 800 would be the amount that would bring in for a regular, as a part-timer 400, correct? So that means that he or she would bring in approximately $1,200 a month. What's it gonna cost us to have this warrant officer?
It's gonna be the same pay, but with he's gonna be paying more or less like 22,000 per year.
22,000 per year, so it would be about.
Under 2,000 a month,
How much?
about 1,800 a month,
So
Give or
it's
take.
probably
right?
that was fast, so you probably know that math, but I'm not sure. So so if we look at it carefully, we're saying it's 1,800, but he's only bringing 1,200. So he's not even paying for himself. So when we look at the cost of the collection agency, you say, well, the collection agency is costing us 2,000, or they're bringing in 2,000, and not really working. Then we need to find either the profit in how much we expect him to bring in, because the problem has been that we have had old cases sitting that are not being collected, so therefore we've got stagnant revenue that could come in. And so the more we increase staff, we have to understand that the margin between what we're making and what we're spending is starting to come close. So at some point, we're not going to be effective by hiring more people. And if you're telling me that it's going to be $1,200, and that's what he's programmed to bring, or maybe 2,000, we're still paying him quite a bit, and then, you know, whatever we're paying, and then we're going to have to give him a vehicle and gas and whatever else we do for them, uniform. And so my thought is we do need to look at how effective we've been since we've had the marshal, since we've increased staff, and then what the judges are doing. I think we've also gone back to how are our case flow moving in there, because one of the things that we would hear from the past from our officers, where we know we're not, the time being spent in court is not enough to be able to move the cases, or taking too long to get them arraigned. I don't know where we are now with that, but before we make any more decisions on the municipal, I really like to get an analysis on how that's been going. Are we collecting more than when we started? Is the revenue increasing? Because when I looked at what was put in the goals part of it, it says that we're going to file. We budgeted for 4,800 cases to be filed in this past year. 29 cases were actually filed, and then it says we're still projecting 29. So we're projecting less than in the past. And then when it says warrants filed, we had 22,000 actual in 2013, and we only have 1,000 for this year budgeted, and we have 2 warrant officers. So, you know, why the decrease? Because we're no longer having to do that much more work, or our goals are getting lower, or what's happening that we're saying we're now going?
Decreases because they had the citations that weren't warrants. So now that that's why last year was a little bit more, because they started activating warrants on all those that were just pending. So now we're already getting to the current ones, updating. So we've been working the girls because they had files that were full of tickets that weren't called in for revenue, and a lot of them that weren't turned into warrants that were supposed to be warrants from 2010. So that's why we had a lot of warrants last year, because we had work that was not, citations that weren't worked on.
Okay, so if I'm looking at warrants executed, would that be warrants executed typically on current cases that need to be done, or also backlog? Is it combined?
Combined.
So we're actually projecting less.
Because we're up to date from all last year.
Right.
So we're up to date on the warrants. So the ones that are coming in are the new ones that we are doing warrants.
And you still feel we need another warrant officer if we're actually caught up to date?
On activating warrants, but we need for them to call in on the ones that are very old, because we have very sometimes the numbers change in 2 weeks, so we need somebody to be concentrating on updating for getting new phone numbers and addresses. That's why we need a part-timer to work full-time on getting those new addresses on those warrants that were they are pending from the past years.
My recommendation is we look at the pros and the cons, and more particularly in the financial investment and the return.
And I think that one of the things that we got to look at, Mayor, is the fact that since we have the city marshal, this year would be a good year to assess, see what the pros and cons on collections on this side, and then we can reintroduce it next year, so we can make sure we can focus as to how much we collected, how much the collection agency collected, and so forth, so we can have true numbers. Because we just had the city marshal. We had the city marshal before, but we didn't have a city marshal for a couple of months there. So, but those some of the things. So you can give me since we had the city marshal, how much we collected, the average, so we can take it from there. So.
My concern would be if do we need somebody in the office to input this information? Is that why it's sitting there? Or is it more beneficial to get somebody to put this information into the system than having an assistant marshal or a part-time marshal? I mean, that's another thing to look at. Because if that's the case, that we're not collecting because they're not putting them into the system, then we might need somebody in the office to do that.
The part-timer, the full-time would be inside getting all the updated information, and the part-timer would be on the road knocking on the doors. That would save time for the full-time that's there, because right now he's getting up new addresses plus calling, so he's doing the two things. That would be faster if we had just the part-timer outside and he just concentrating on getting the new addresses. That would bring more revenue because he would be working faster since the other one is outside on the road knocking at doors.
Anything else, Ms. Enriquez? Okay. Go to the finance department, Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes, the only thing here, nothing can change. One thing I'm looking in getting a fixed asset model. The one we have right now is outdated. I'm looking to getting an update and cost about the same as getting the info integrated to the RPL system. And also, I put half of it here on the general fund and the other half in the utility fund. And I was even talking to Mr. Garza here that maybe we could put maybe a third of it in sanitation system, just to be all. That's about the only thing that I have questioned.
Okay, planning department.
Good evening. We're looking at taking over the animal control from fire department. So that's one change there. We're gonna get 2 people transferred to my department from fire department for animal control
Quick on that.
purposes.
What's the plus of
Yeah.
that? I know we did that before, and then it
Yes.
came over to yours, and
Yeah.
why are we, what happened?
Mayor Commissioner, what happened was a couple of years ago, it was assigned, it was at the planning and zoning department. And it was transferred to the public safety department with the fire chief because of the supervision side of it. That was the main focus of it. And so the animal control department should be under planning and zoning. It's standard in most cities, it should be in that area, because they do the code enforcement and so forth. So what we're doing is that we're just transferring the personnel to the planning and zoning department so they can cover that area and allow the chief to do his public safety duties, responsibilities there. That was the only reason that we got it back to the planning and zoning department for that reason. I truly believe it, and I told Mr. Cervantes this, and with the chief's also recommendation that Mr. Cervantes can oversee these individuals, and they're housed right next door from him. Right now, they don't need offices or anything. They got their vehicles and so forth, so it allows them to be more, have quick access to them and so forth. So in that case, that's why we transferred them. Chief?
Pretty much, Mayor, these gentlemen that are currently in our staff, animal control officers, they're pretty much, one of the issues was before was the supervision and then accountability. And now they're pretty much, we implemented the log sheet to where every call that they go to, they need to log in and how long they were there. So as far as them having issues with them over there in code enforcement, I don't see that happening at all. They're pretty much ready to go. They can still utilize our station as far as keeping their traps and everything, because they've never had a place to keep all their equipment. We currently have it there at the fire department. And as I explained it to the chief, they've worked out great with us, but my secretary's getting overwhelmed with the calls that are coming in on a daily basis. So instead of just getting an administrative assistant or a secretary or a clerk to answer the phones, I think it's more feasible that they go back to the community or code enforcement.
Well, I saw your logging of calls, and you have about the largest logging of calls at the planning department. You already have about 22,000 that you put down on a yearly basis. How's that gonna work out?
Well, further in the list for my department is that we're requesting a new software. And this new software, a lot of the visits that half of the people that come into my department is to get garage sale permits. So with this new software, we will be able to issue garage sale permits online. So that will release a lot of the workload to my department. So based on that, contingent on getting this new software, I feel we can handle it no problem.
You're brave, and your staff will definitely appreciate the software, because I know they've been overwhelmed. So let me ask you about the evening phone calls. One of the things we know that our firefighter and police station folks are always available for a phone call. Is that routine on off hours?
Basically, ma'am, what happens there, Mayor, the calls go to PD for emergency, and then they're transferred. They have their cell phones. They're on call 24/7. One of them has got the weekends or whichever. It's on a rotation basis. The calls will be, relayed to them. They'll get the call.
Okay, so the evening will still contain the same.
Correct.
They'll know, people will know that once
Yes.
the office is closed, they're going to be available. We call PD.
PD. Yes, basically all the calls, even for any other incident that occur, the calls go to dispatch.
Well,
PD.
we're gonna have on this animal control, we're gonna have a night shift or an afternoon shift. We get a lot of calls at times, the chief was telling me that, of animals on the roadway, and we don't pick them up until, the following day, so forth. So right now, so Mr. Cervantes already worked that. Once they get transferred, we're gonna have somebody in the afternoon at night.
Saturdays and maybe Sundays.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like with the code enforcement officers, I have one person working on Saturdays. So that person that has that Saturday has a day the week before off. Yeah, so it will be the same thing with the animal control officer. If he's
I'm gonna tell you this right now, it's not efficient. We tried that. We had somebody there on the weekends, chief, and it was just, basically he would go in for 8 hours or 4 hours, and the call volume wasn't there. But you could try it. I mean, you're more than welcome to try it, but it didn't work for us. It was actually.
It's best to keep them on call, is what you're saying, rather than physically present.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I guess maybe the thing would, are they both, one person would be on call then?
Yes.
Is the way that you would handle that. Okay.
Which takes us to the next cost, is 135,000.
Yeah, that's the contract to dispose of the animals. It's expensive, but all cities have this expense.
I did not see here the freezer, chief.
No, that's gonna get purchased with this budget, this year's budget, $800. The issue that we're having right now, Mayor, is the carcasses that are picked up, the dead animals during the weekends, that they have to wait till Monday, that they actually get picked up by sanitation. What we're gonna do, and it was the recommendation of our current officers, because of course they talk to other animal control officers, is just to maintain all the dead animals inside a deep freezer. Then on Monday, they just put them on the dumpster and have the truck pick them up, and they'll take them to the landfill. They're bagged, properly bagged in bio bags and all that, so they meet the requirements or the standards from the landfill.
I think it's really important because our employees driving those trucks.
Yes.
It's just not their exposure to those smells. Now, we've been doing it legally because we can carry them in those trucks, or we're not supposed to. Maybe I shouldn't ask that question.
We made contact before we started that process, we made contact with Edinburgh landfill, and they just told us just as long as those animals were bagged in the proper bag, and we have the proper bagging. And of course, that's savings, because before, I don't know if you recall, those animals used to be delivered to the Humane Society for their disposal over there, and we were paying $70 for every animal. So we brought down the expense as far as that, and then of course the possums and all that, we just decided to just pick them up and just let them loose out there at the.
So
south
you
of
still
town.
take them down to the south side or
Yes, sir.
release them out there?
Yes, sir. Yeah, because if we would catch a possum with a litter, a female with a
They
litter.
charge for
Each one.
Each possum, right?
Yeah, so we started taking them out there and just letting them loose. I got my animal control officer certified to euthanize, but never got into it because I started reading up on it. It pretty much, after a while, gets to, you know, having to put these animals down and things like that. It affects them mentally, so I never actually implemented the actual euthanization, but they're certified already.
What happened to the freezer that we had bought?
The what?
We had a freezer sometime back that we had bought.
It wound up going at the kitchen, to
Oh,
the
my.
kitchen. The reason for that was that we ordered the freezer and we had a 3-phase service, and there's a single phase at the city shop where we were gonna put it. We laid the slab and everything.
Right.
But we couldn't get the power. It's gonna cost more to get the power down at that location than to just utilize it somewhere else. And the recommendation that I got from our animal control officer was just a regular deep freezer, commercial type deep freezer, and I already priced it, it's $800. We already have the slab there, and it's just a matter of hooking it up with an extension cord, a regular 110, and that should work.
So they'll be bagged and then put into the freezer?
Correct.
Okay.
And then on Monday, when Monday comes around, the animal control, well, they'll be under Mr. Cervantes, but they'll put them inside a container, and then before the sanitation truck takes off, we'll pick them up and throw them in the.
Have access over the weekend if they're picking up
Correct.
dead animals. And then how often will we take them to the landfill? How?
Every other day.
Okay. Yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Cervantes, on the GIS software.
Yeah, and well, like I mentioned, that this software would really help us out. The software that we have is very obsolete. It will also allow us to have maps online. If you go to the bigger cities, you can see the base map and the zoning maps and water and sewer line. Everything is online, and we don't have anything like that in San Juan. So with this software, we will have, it's called Geographic Information System, GIS, and it allows you to go in, zoom into your property, get the zoning, water lines, sewer lines. It will really help us with development. And also we're requesting a truck. We have a unit, a 2001 with 190,000 miles, so that's a truck that we would like to retire. Yeah, it's breaking.
Our folks have a truck for 1985. Let me ask you about that, now that you brought up how many of you have vehicles that are older than the 90s?
Most of them.
Okay,
Utilities?
older than the 90s, okay. I mean, yeah,
One?
back. How many? Raise your hand again, how many? Tell me how many. And you have something older than that?
85, 88, and then most of them are the mid-90s.
And I know, and some of them, I think, how many?
I have two.
Two? I gotta give it up to you for maintenance, because for a vehicle to still be running, and I mean, that's very impressive that our folks do great work at the shop and you do great work in trying to maintain. But I really like to see us, because I think if we, and that's one thing I've always wished to get, and I don't think I've ever seen, is a log of the vehicles that we have. As older they're getting, and I think some of you allude to it in your request, the older they're getting, the more it's costing us to keep that thing running. And so if we could retire the older ones, I know some of you got some new ones last year, so you got them. The folks that haven't received some or have some that we're spending, I think that's how you can make your case, because what we would be paying to maintain your vehicle, we could pay for, you know, if we were actually buying a car, what it would pay for the payments in a year. And so I think for gas purposes, for maintenance purposes, if we were able to retire those older ones in those departments, if there was money, Chief, I think that's really how I'd like to see it. And you might have an old one.
Yeah, this one is breaking
It's
all
a
the time.
2000, right?
It's a 2001, but it has 190,000 miles, and it's constantly breaking.
Yeah, and I think that's what we look at. I don't think the year so much, but the year, for me, when you tell me you've got those older, it means you're really taking care of what we invest in. And I think that's very important. Others,
That
of
our
course.
money's worth.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if we can take those, invest, sell those and invest in something in those departments that we really haven't put a new vehicle in, I'd like to see that. And some of you that, I know some of you are requesting new stuff again, maybe not this time. But if we can replace some of those, and I think we can definitely lower some of our costs. And by doing that, we might be able to save some money to start working a bit, putting something in capital improvement for streets. Just because every bit's gonna count. So, I'm not sure if you asked for a vehicle, I don't remember, or you all asked for, I know you asked for the big truck. But in some of those older ones that it'd be worth our while. Now, Chief, when we do retirement in some of your vehicles or some of the ones that you cease,
We have,
okay,
transfer some of the, but again, Mayor, our vehicles are, the wear and tear is too much. Even, they won't last another couple of years, some of them have it a year or two on another department. They just, we retire them with 150,000 miles or so. I mean, the standard retirement for a police vehicle is 75,000 miles, but we're way over that. But that's not feasible, so that's why, but we're giving it to other vehicles. Now, the only vehicles that we cannot transfer to any other department are vehicles that we purchase through asset forfeiture funds. So that's, and those vehicles get auctioned, because they cannot be utilized by anybody else other than law enforcement. So, but the rest we have, and I think we're already working on that as well, that we're transferring some vehicles already, but the wear and tear, I mean, for minimal use on some of the departments is good, but not for everyday use. And that's what we're looking at on these new vehicles in each department, and I think that there's other departments that are seeking new vehicles. And they're not seeking for something, asking for something that too over the top as to, trucks that, we asked them for a working truck. I told them that we're gonna look into a working truck that can be utilized. Not sedans, but, vehicle, working trucks. They can be utilized for different things.
Right.
So that's what we're looking at.
I think, I don't know what kind of law we keep at the shop, but I think we should, and hopefully we do. And I'd like to be able to take a look at that, because I think that tells us, at some point, just like I was asking a question about the warrant officer, how much it costs and how much he's getting. What is, the opportunity we're losing of having to invest so much in something that's costing us more than, had we upgraded. And so if you have, and maybe you folks who have your vehicles, the older ones, if you can just, snapshot of 1 year, how many times did it go to the shop? How much did you have to put into it? That we would be able to see, we need to really evaluate the condition of the vehicles that we're asking for to replace.
And the more specialized vehicle it is, Mayor, the higher the cost for maintenance.
Yeah. Do all our trucks, the ones that our employees have to be driving in for the full day, do they all have air conditioning? No? The garbage trucks?
The garbage trucks, but the air conditioner breaks down very often. And like our taxi crew, those guys are out there on Sunday, and they don't have air conditioning. I believe only one unit, the sign department, doing the special projects, they're working staff.
We are gonna look at, and I'm discussing it with the finance department, commission, we are gonna look at the fact that we're looking at all the number of vehicles being asked for. And we're gonna get an option for in the next budget meeting as to how well we can do with a lease program. If we cannot buy them outright, can we lease 4 or 5 vehicles, pickup trucks? And we did have a really good conversation with Mr. Chris Vela this morning, and the lease program does not will hurt our bond rating. We already cleared that with him. It's not gonna hurt us. But those are some of the things we can look at. But we also gotta make sure that we cover some of the other things. So if we don't have 150,000 to purchase 3 or 4 vehicles, then we're gonna have to look at the fact that it's feasible for us to venture into leasing vehicles. So that's gonna be something that we gotta look at.
Well, when you lease, Chief, I believe that if you go over certain mileage, then they'll start charging, the city in reference.
That's why we're gonna look at different vendors.
I mean, the way those trucks, you guys use them, I mean, they're on the road, a lot. And I personally don't, leasing, it's a good option, don't get me wrong, but the issue here is looking at, how many miles does each vehicle put in a day, and then you calculate it a week, monthly. And I believe when it goes to the leasing, it's, I think, more than 36,000 miles, what is it, 3 years or something like that.
Yeah, I think the average is about 1,000 miles a month or something like that, 1,500 miles a month.
12,000 a year.
Yeah, so,
You know.
but we're gonna get a, just an
Analysis
option,
done by-
an option to see if we can, you know, I remember Mayor Commissioner, we still gotta cut about a little bit over, close to $2 million from this budget. We already cut 3 million, but we're gonna work on priorities, that, you know, so, but giving the options for the next, budget meeting, where we can go. There is a need in each department that they, you know, their vehicles, and I keep telling them, we need to paint the vehicles, you know. We need to, some vehicles need new seats. I mean, some vehicles have no seating. You know, our staff is doing a great work with, being patient with us, like, you know, and of course, Parks and Recreation and IT and all the different departments. I mean, we just gotta work on that, and I think that having an option is always good, and we can take it from there.
What I'd like to see also, Chief, is that each department, you know, give the mayor and the commission a list of the year of the vehicle and how many miles, you know, that each vehicle has, so that way we can really look at it and assess, and even Chief as well, fire department, you know, and take it from there, you know, because obviously if a vehicle has 190-some thousand miles, it's gotta have problems, you know. I mean, that's just the.
That with the cost. I think that with the cost of what it takes to maintain. Because, I mean, you know, we can have an old vehicle, but it's got a great motor and it's doing well, and it's really only for, you know, odds and ends, and we can keep, that's okay. But I'm talking about at least the cost effectiveness. I think in the long run is what we need to look at it. But don't get an idea that everybody's gonna get a new vehicle, but just that those real.
Maybe they can through forfeiture funds. No, I'm joking.
Mr. Cervantes, anything else?
That's it, that's all I have.
Okay. Just to, on the planning department, we did allocate some funding for street lighting. You know, so that we
Thanks
did-
for bringing that
we
up.
did, I think we allocated, 10,000. more or
That's,
less. I mean, I'm sorry, that's,
Talk-
streets and alleys,
We have
yes.
10,000 dedicated for. I spend the money, he puts it in the budget, and I spend the money. Spends it for me.
We're gonna add about 13,000 for the city of San Juan with the expressway. The MPO agreed that the best way, because the lights in the expressway belong to the city. And as you know, as you travel along the expressway, some cities are on, some cities are off, some cities are on. We're off. And basically, the cost to us, if what TxDOT would be able to do is buy and do the installation and changing of the fixtures through all the cities, which if you do it as a group purchase, it's cheaper than if we had to go and do every single replacement. So they've estimated the cost associated with the city of San Juan is about 13,000. And we would have lit lights, and if you've seen, the city of McAllen actually invested through a grant. They changed a lot of their lights. That's what the entire expressway is gonna be. So what this would do, allow us to become uniform so that everybody gets to do it. We pay somebody to get it done, and then it's a defrayed cost because we're not purchasing ourselves. It's a major purchase through, but it belongs to us. So I think that that's one of the things the MPO did. There might be some monies put in by other sources, but for right now, they've indicated that our portion is a little over 13,000, so I want us to keep that in mind. Yes, They're not paying for it, but they would do the purchasing so that they,
We have, I don't know, if there's like a control box on the premises of the facility, right on, by frontage.
okay,
We have the box, we purchased the box to get it fit. The person that was gonna do it had an accident and couldn't, you know, do it, so we do have that.
okay,
And I think that's a problem with that.
okay. Then maybe we can have an opportunity to talk with the folks as they're preparing for this. I know you were at the technical committee also addressed it, so if you can make a note of that in talking to TxDOT regarding the box that we have. But I foresee that happening probably before December. So we definitely have to have it in the new budget.
We need to add 13,000 to the 10,000.
Addition?
Yeah.
Yes, because
of that.
13 is only for the expressway.
Only that
The
one.
other is residential.
Because 10,000 is intended for residential.
Okay.
we will have to,
Anything else, Mr. Cervantes?
it will be a total of 35,000.
Cap, the police department?
This year I only have one capital outlay item. It's also part of a grant. It's our bulletproof vest grant. We're asking for 5 this coming year. It's a 50-50 match, but we do have to put up the front money when we purchase it, and then we get reimbursed.
Which one was that, Captain?
It's for the bulletproof vest. It wasn't in the original. I had forgotten it. I do have, I fixed one. That's the only thing I have on it. I did put it in in the book. It's in here. The only thing is that I didn't put it on the capital outlay.
Is it that 750 on the bulletproof vest?
And that's what the only capital outlay item I have for this community. And like I said, it's part of a grant. It's a 50-50. We have to put up $37.50 first, and then we get reimbursed by the grant. So that's that one. The other one is that I'm asking for two new hires, 2 new police officers. I would really want to ask for more, but I know because of budget constraints, I can't, and that's why I'm limiting myself to 2.
How many do you want?
I would like to have 10 additional. That would really give us the cushion that we have for those unexpected things that happen. An officer comes to work, they're in an accident, she's out for 3 or 4 months because her back is hurt. They're running through a backyard, they fall in a hole, they twist their ankle, their knee, they're out for another 2 or 3 months. We get those ones that we don't like where we have to terminate somebody, and there's another slot there. And with our civil service process, we have to post, we have a list that we have to go by. Once you take care of that list, you have to post for 90 days that you're going to be testing. And once you post for those 90 days, then you have your test. And then after you do the testing, you get a list. You work from the list from top to bottom. After you worked on the list, you do your backgrounds, you do your physicals, you do your polygraphs, you do your psychologicals, your medicals, and everything else you have to do. It's a long process, especially with the civil service terms. Fire department has their same problems as we do. And we are, right now, we're 1 man short for as of right now, we're 1 man short, and that's due to a termination. We recently hired 3 to bring our personnel up to par, but we're at that spot again that we have to go out and test again. So there's a 90-day posting that we have to do, and then testing and everything else that we need to do. I'm asking for 2. I would like to, because that will give us that little cushion that we have. Right now, our average response time for a call is at a little over 6 minutes. In law enforcement, 6 minutes could be a lifetime. We would like to keep it under 4. 3 would be great. But what happens is just what I told you right now. We get an injury off or on duty. We get a termination on or off duty. We get a suspension because of something that happens. And there you go. You are now hampering the shift because you're low on personnel. You have 3 or 4 guys on duty when you should have about 4 or 5, even 6. I would love to have 6. But it's not feasible right now. And that's why we're asking for 2 additional personnel.
Total that we have?
Right now, total, we have 47. In the department, we have 58, I believe.
On patrol?
Patrol, we have 25.
And how do we divide them?
Per shift, 3 shifts right now. Right now, with the new personnel that we have, and we have 5 per shift right now. And one of those things, we had an officer running through a backyard. She twisted her ankle, hurt her back. She's out indefinite amount of time right now. Yeah.
And all our positions are filled?
Except for 1 man. recent termination that we had.
Kev, we did not apply for the COPS grant due
No.
to the fact that it requires a match in the fourth year. And,
What does it require?
it requires a match, it requires a match and full, it goes to, the fourth year, the city picks up all the benefits and the salaries. So we did that a couple of years ago, Commissioner. We hired two, and the city had to take those two into the next fiscal year. So it's just the way the COPS grant is. So the COPS grant is available, but it's just not feasible for us because the city does not have that luxury of picking up the fourth year. You know, it just costs us a lot of money for that. So that's why I was asking for those two additional personnel on this.
Let me ask you, on the uniforms for our officers, how often do we get them uniforms?
We try to get them new uniforms every year. We budgeted for them. But during the year, if they come, they got a bloodstain uniform or something, we try to give them three uniforms to work with. Some of them have a lot more. But if they damage it, tear it, stain it, whatever, we have replacements for them, and we can give them the replacements for them.
And three uniforms, how many uniforms do your folks? 4? Okay.
Well, it depends, Mayor. We have our Class A's, which they utilize for presentations.
Okay.
They got one of those, and then they have 4 working uniforms for shift duty, for tour duty.
How many of our officers actually suit up on a daily basis? I mean, we've got our investigators that civilian clothes, right?
Yes. Daily basis?
I mean,
5, right now,
typically.
5 per shift, 15?
Our patrol?
Yes.
And on those 5, how's it breaking down? Like, what sectors, or, you know, do they patrol, or?
We divide the city up into north and south. And then within the north and south, we have quadrants, 1 and 2. The Nebraska and Raul Longoria being the dividing line, and I believe First Street being the other dividing line. First Street or Nebraska, the expressway. And it's 4 quadrants that we have. When we do have a full shift, we like to put at least 2 in the south, 2 in the north, and 1 roving. The 5 also includes a supervisor, which is usually a sergeant or a corporal. He also does patrol, but his main thing is basically to go supervise, make sure that everything's working correctly. Everything else on the other capital outlay that we had, we moved it over to the asset forfeiture side, which were the 10 radios.
Are those still radios that we're just trying to upgrade, or we're just replacing?
We were going to upgrade. We're moving them to the digital system.
And we'll still have the $1 million for the new building, the new
Yes.
substation. That's already that, and that's forfeiture.
Yes, in the federal side.
Yeah, and then we have a state forfeiture for other stuff.
Correct.
So tell me about the monies and the deadlines. What are we looking at?
In the asset forfeiture?
Yes, sir.
We still have the deadline for the $1.1 million that we had for 2 years ago. That one we're looking at. Each year we're putting a little bit with some expenses to it for they can see that we are moving that money out. But we've been able to manage to have a rotating fund. The money comes out, money comes in, which we can say that we're a little bit blessed that way, that we do. As long as we can show that we're moving the money around and that we're spending that money, we're okay. Right now, we still have the $1 million we still have in the federal side, but that's combining 2 funds, which is the Treasury and the, what is the other one, Chief? The one from HIDA? It's,
Item, yeah.
yeah, it's the HIDA fund, which is a federal fund, and the Treasury fund.
Combined together.
Combined together, yes. Right now, we don't have any more funds coming in from the Treasury, being that we didn't have somebody assigned to the ICE. But now we do. We expect to start getting some forfeiture money coming in from his
Okay, so
detail
we
over
talk
there.
about the 1.1 million that we do have that we kept talking about deadline December 2015.
Yes.
Do we have that kind of a pressure on a deadline at this point or not?
No, no.
Okay, okay, good. And have we gotten, if we're talking about the forfeiture money, and how much will be available, maybe at the next meeting, we can, discuss, how much is actually gonna be able to be attributed, or maybe even tomorrow's meeting, when it comes to the, infrastructure. You all had some questions that you had gone out for information to see what could be applied when it came to the public safety building. So maybe tomorrow's workshop, we have infrastructure, we can have that report.
As for the infrastructure, Mayor, I had emailed the people from the asset forfeiture, that question if we could use. Their main question was who was going to use it, who was the beneficiary from it, who was going to benefit from it. We told them for now it's going to be the police department, but that same lines that we're going to be running that way is also going to be utilized by the city in coming years. And that's the part that they were having a little bit trouble because of that. They go, well, what is the percentage that the police department is going to be using?
Maybe that's what we need to talk about, is percentage.
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't gotten a response from him yet, Chief.
Chief, the fire department?
Real quick, on personnel, like, I requested 3. We also applied, we're still pending for notification. We applied for the SAFER grant this past year also, so we're waiting notification on that. And now I just requested 3 personnel. Along with that, our capital outlay, you'll see that I added the tanker that needs to be replaced, the 1993 tanker. That truck we utilize it for water supply in our areas where we lack hydrants and things like that.
You said that the one that we have just you can't use anymore,
We're
correct?
we did a temporary patch on it, Mayor.
Okay.
I didn't want to just leave it sitting there without, but we're still utilizing it for county calls, and of course, south of town, if we get anything out there, we take it out there. If not, we call our neighboring cities, whichever, either FAR, or Alamo, or Edinburgh. In our capital outlay, you'll see other equipment. It's 154,200, and that included the much needed replacement of some rescue tools that we need for our trucks. Also 10 sets of gear, firefighting gear. We get our gear tested yearly, and it needs to meet a certain criteria in order for it to stay in service. And we went ahead and purchased the machine, and we do our own testing. I got 3 personnel certified to do the testing on this gear, and we're pretty much down to the last strings on this gear also. So I put in for 10 sets of gear, portable radios, and the rest, of course, like we just talked about earlier. Some of these equipment that we have, we pretty much put out of service, like the power saws that we have, the chainsaws that we need for ventilation. We're just spending money, you know, on a monthly basis on getting them repaired. So we just went ahead and pull them off, because if we pull out invoices, I think we paid more in repairs than what the actual saw actually cost. The ventilation fans also, but most and critical than all is it's the firefighting gear. And,
Can I ask you on the
yes, ma'am.
on the radios? Is that something that we've done in the past? Buy them by groups? Are they the same type of radios that the police is buying, and
yes, ma'am.
we defray on the cost on that?
Yes,
and,
ma'am.
Okay.
I think this year, I think what we can do, there's a more economical radio for Public Works. That's more, it's durable and everything, but it has less features, because police and fire, we need to have the encryption, and with theirs, we don't have to utilize encryption.
Is there any, Chief, is there any type of like grants to like purchase these radios, or like through
Yes, sir,
FEMA
through
or
Homeland Security, through the Development Council. We normally apply on a yearly basis. This past year, I submitted for a safety trailer, actually, for Public Works, but it got cut at the last meeting, so it was $18,000. But I normally get radios through them, through the Homeland Security funding, through the development.
Can you still apply for some radios?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, like on this, I put 10, and if we get anything throughout the year, any funding, of course, it'll decrease this amount, and you can utilize it for either a mobile radio, because right now, the way we're doing it, Commissioner, our personnel respond and they have to use a handheld radio. We haven't afforded to put the actual mount radio, digital radio on the unit, because we've gone with portables. The portables are $2,400, more or less, and a mobile radio, you're talking about $4,000. Yeah, so, and it's digital. I mean, we pick up the traffic real clear and everything, but it is kind of dangerous to, you know, to be driving and holding a portable. So, I think on that, I might have, you know, I could have put at least maybe 4 for right now to put mobiles on the units. We utilize all digital. All our VHF radios, we have them in storage for any major event that we should have. And each department, I think, pretty much,
Everybody already at, and as far as I remember, we had a deadline of 2015.
we're in compliance, man.
We're in
Yeah,
compliance,
we're in
okay.
compliance. The only thing that we're doing, we're adding more to our, like that every personnel can have an assigned radio. Like that, we can, you know, if it gets damaged, we know who to pinpoint it to. So that's the route that we're looking at. That's about it.
Any other questions on this?
Under memberships, Chief,
Yes, sir.
animal control, would that shift over to Mr. Cervantes?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Everything that's here for animal control is gonna switch over to Mr. Cervantes. They're required, animal control officer required to take a 8-hour course on a yearly basis.
On the fire tanker truck that you're asking for, are there any other grants, any grants for that? I mean, that if we can utilize it for regional?
Nothing's opened up yet, Chief. We
Okay.
keep our eyes open on that, and if I get anything, I'll pass it over. I usually forward everything over to Chanel. But like I said, right now, we're still pending on the FEMA for the additional, for the SAFER grant. We picked up 6 of our personnel in 2009, and we got that grant awarded to us. So.
Anything else, Chief?
That's all I have. I don't know if they have any more questions.
Any more questions from the commission? Yeah, I know Chief has told me we've got some food available, so if you want to take like a little bit of time to go get something to eat, anybody's willing, or if while we're talking, please feel free to do it, because we'll be here for a little bit. So please feel free to go get some. Maybe a 5-minute break? Okay, 10-minute break? Okay. All right. Make it quick.
Unless we call a special meeting, we don't approve it before a regular meeting. Another 5-hour meeting.
Oh, we got, this one, we got it right now. It was on there. No, that's the one we got. Huh? Oh, I know. Yeah.
Some of them.
And this is the one here, that's the negative. Budget
Right.
what we're cutting, this is what we're adding. So this is what it used to be, this is what they're asking for now, which is a difference of, right?
Because that's what they didn't do with this one.
Okay, and this gives you a little bit more of the breakdown of everything. So depending on.
I'm going back in there and I'm finding them
That's why
Yeah.
to make
I got
sure.
you.
Pero como, ¿cuál era? De uno que me quedé.
close to the answer right there.
She said this one, they were gonna remove it, 2,000. So then why is it here as, why isn't it as a decrease in parentheses like this one? It's a true. It says this
So-
one, but como te digo,
Yeah.
just going over.
Yeah.
Then the next one es cuando ahora sí.
Yeah. No, and then like that would have a better idea.
Right.
But then me, I'm having an idea on how it's working.
It's gonna give gives you the idea, but you kind of maybe you have like, or maybe
Ya ando en dieta, pues. Ya ando en dieta, pues. Ya comencé.
maybe just
No, I'll go pick on something right now.
basically everything else stays the same. So that was the $500. So that and then here, I've asked for it. So you're asking 200 and some thousand. Yeah, 200 and some thousand. Why?
See, you want one? I was gonna get two, but se vinieron tres.
That one's about the range. Another 5,000 there.
¿Están de frías?
Lo que estaba pensando yo, es en frío.
No.
Yeah, see 400, that's 250,000. So basically,
Do me a favor, open this. I can't get it.
Ahorita acá. So, are they up there for a tournament or what? Nomás te dejaron? Nationals.
We stayed here in Texas this year. But I'm leaving tomorrow night. So mañana we gotta be
I know.
every day. And right now, trying to work this work. At least you got the summer a little bit to, you know. Got it. Thank you, sir. Oh man. Some muffins or what?
You quería brown? I quería brown.
Little boy, he's playing right now.
I had tuna salad for lunch, so you could make.
You know what? I don't mind tuna salad. I like tuna salad. I love tuna salad.
But I don't put dressing.
I want to hear your diets.
Maybe I should have rice.
The rice is good. It is not right.
Maybe it's not greasy. I'll have to.
Sandra. Can I get a tortilla? You too.
I'm waiting for everybody and then I'll get some.
Don't think you're gonna the best of the
Before the
last.
camera roll.
I know. You better not turn it on your own.
something in there?
our vehicles are pretty much run down, and I am asking a lot for the asphalt, for the road improvement, for the road work. I request 150,000, but that's gonna vary. It depends as to what type of paver we get, or a road patcher, and that'll vary from there. I am also requesting an additional worker for our department. We've been falling very, very far behind with our inlets, and that's something that we really do need to clean up. As a matter of fact, Thursday of last week, Rush, Peterbilt here in FAR, came by to give us a demonstration on our culverts, and I jumped on the opportunity, and we took them over to Citrus, because we have a drainage problem there, and we put in the holes about 300 feet, actually exactly 300 feet, and we get a lot of slush out and a lot of roots. And if you see the street, there's a lot of big trees, all that neighborhood, so I can imagine the whole line is really just plugged up with roots and all, so that's why I'm requesting that additional worker to help us there. I'm also requesting a traffic safety coordinator. And this, I feel that our city, we need to beautify it more and get directional signs on our street names, on our street name signs, identify east, west, north, and south, and to put the block numbers on the street name signs to where our fire department, police department, ambulance, even our visitors to our community, where they can don't have any problems getting around the city. And as a matter of fact, we're already purchasing the vinyl cutter, and we're gonna start. And the traffic coordinator will be in charge of the sign department, the patching department, and help us out in any other areas that we might need within the department. But that's something that I really feel that we need here in San Juan. And I think that'll beautify the city quite a bit, and especially in our business district, start there and grow from there. As a matter of fact, on Cardenal, and there are several streets that we have already put block numbers on them, the signs that we're replacing right now, we're putting the block number and identifying northeast or south. In our capital outlay, I am requesting.
Let me ask you a question. Why do you think they should earn $16 an hour?
The coordinator? I'm basing it on what our coordinator is making right now, Mayor. He's at 30, I think he's at 30, 38, 35,000, 35 to 35. That's where I want to keep all my coordinators at that level. That's what I'm basing it on.
Like, you have a public works coordinator.
Yes, sir.
You have a recycling coordinator, and this is going to be a traffic safety coordinator.
Yes, sir.
So can you duties and responsibilities of each one? What are they?
Okay, what I can do here is our environmental coordinator, which will be Eric Munoz from our center, he's making, I believe, 28 or 29,000. I'm not really sure exactly how much he's making. Pardon?
What does he do?
He's in charge of our recycling bins. He's helping me out right now with the landfill, and they do service calls on our containers, and especially right now that we're upgrading all our commercial accounts and residential new residential accounts, and he takes care of all that area. And he also does. We also go to schools and do little presentations, and we also get involved our students from our schools in graffiti removal and garbage pickup along Business 83, and he takes care of all that.
So graffiti removal, when he gets the kids to come out to do that?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, could he not do this job? Because, I mean, we're not doing graffiti removal all the time.
No, we're not, ma'am.
And as far as the landfill, his landfill is not really his purview
No,
to do.
no,
What
he just
is he
opened-
doing at the landfill?
In the landfill, what I'm trying to do is control the people that are coming in there. We get people coming in with, well, this is my aunt's address, and I'm cleaning up the yard for her, and she's an elderly person, we're trying to dump her. So sometimes we have to go to the residents because they bring an enormous amount of debris or brush or whatever it is, and we go check, see if it's really coming from that resident or not. And there's occasions where it's not coming from there. So we're trying to control it right now because our landfill is pretty much at capacity.
Right. What are we not doing? Because it didn't, I don't ever remember it getting that bad. What seems to be the issue that it's built up so much? I mean, we used to be able to shred, we used to, I don't know what to call it, chip, hauling, and it's just gotten really out of hand. What's happening?
We have a shredder, Mayor, but it's for very minor brush, and as a matter of fact, we put it to rest there for a while because Vermeer put a safety issue on it, and then we finally got it fixed and everything, but it's very minor brush that it'll cut, Mayor. But they bring trunks, they pick all that they cannot do. That machine cannot do that, the shredder cannot do that, so we're trying to, as a matter of fact, I requested, but I think it's in sanitation where I requested some money so we can mulch all that brush that's there. And I'll give you some figures. I have some figures here for you on that. Chief is also working on trying to get a permit to where we can burn the brush and all that. So right now, it's on hold right now. We're trying to see what our options are and what route we can take.
One other thing, Mayor, that we comment on also, this percentage of that has to do with the weather that didn't allow us to do some certain. But one of the other things is the fact, we have a lot of brush and landfill right now that we did ask for TCQ permission to burn, but the only way they would allow us to burn off-site was the fact that the citizens of San Juan had to go bring the brush to us at a certain location. And,
That was, yes, correct.
but, yeah, so, but that, we can't do that because citizens don't have enough, they don't have vehicles to do that. So the only other option that the chief is working on is the fact that if we can burn some of the brush that we have out there on one of at the location we have, but we need a permit from TCQ. Chief?
I'm looking at the old landfill, Mayor, south of Stewart, on South Stewart, to the east side. Right now, currently, up to the part that's up front by Stewart, it's used by Remote Control Aviation Club. I spoke to the gentleman today, they don't have a problem, and for that matter, he says, it's your property, y'all could do what you want. But of course, I'm looking at an area that's towards the east and taking some of this load that he has there and burning it over there, either in a trench or, you know, just, I'm gonna see what TCEQ's requirements are. But I think that's the best route to go to alleviate some of this brush that we have there right now at the landfill on Hall Acres. And one of the options with reimbursement from FEMA, Mayor, for we looked at was on debris removal, classification on that, but they're real specific. If we go pick up brush along our right-of-way and we don't know actually where it comes from, it's a lot of confusion and a lot of red tape, because specifically the brush that we want to get reimbursed as far as picking up, it's got to be right on the roadway, and it's kind of difficult. So I told the chief, I said, I think what we can do, or if the residents bring it to us, and I don't see that happening. So what I was recommending to the chief, get the permit through TCEQ and get some of this stuff that's currently in that landfill and haul it over there and just burn it. Maybe we can get a permit for a month, 2 months, whatever it takes, but to take some of the load, because that's ready. I mean, it's pretty dangerous what we have out there.
Exactly.
So that's one of the options, to take some of that brush out of there.
And I guess, I go back to my question. We didn't have that problem last year. Are you attributing the buildup because we've had more brush this year?
I guess we had more rain where people are just cutting brush, Mayor, because, I mean, we pass through an area and we leave, and I go back 2 days later and there's a lot of brush out there again, even if we cleared the area. Why people are cutting so much, I don't know.
One year, what we did was if you remember, the county would bring theirs, and they had a big chipper. They had a big one. You remember that, Chief? And it was great. They would keep it here, I think is what it was. They would come and bring their brush to mulch or whatever they do with it, and then we were able to use it at the same time. And because it's a central place for them, and if they're out there, you know, in the rural area, that worked well. That, I don't know how long we kept it, but we kept it for a while, and we were able to benefit from that. So as we're obtaining more brush, I don't know if that's an option, but I would definitely venture to go and
I'll look
request.
into that, Mayor. Like I'm requesting, like I said, but it's under sanitation, not under streets and alleys.
Okay. But
But-
still, I mean, we're talking all the
Right,
brush and all
the
of
brush,
that.
right, and what we do there is a company from Austin, Mayor, and they mulch everything that's there, and instead of carrying it and hauling it off over to Edinburgh, we'll just use some mulch there and level off the property. That way, when it rains, we don't flood and have to close our landfill to the community. But it's something we need to look at, and I'm looking at options, and we're also looking at alternative generators that want to come into the city, and they also want to do all the recycled garbage, oil, and all these other elements that we have here within the city. But hopefully, Mr. Andres can provide us with something, and I'm not sure if he's scheduled for the 28th, Mayor, to do a
Yeah, we
presentation.
scheduled them. It's a really innovative company that has these well, it's not in the agenda.
No,
But
Yeah.
next, there'll be a presentation that I think that if it's viable, would be tremendous for the city.
All right,
But I want to, well, finish and then I'll come back.
okay.
You didn't ask for a mulcher in the budget, right?
No, we didn't ask for a mulchership because I was hoping that we would go the route of utilizing the brush that's there, you know, refurbishing it as far as mulching it and using it as a field, as a cover for our ground. That way we don't have to worry about floodings and all that. And so I was hoping we would go that route. But if we can clean that, or if we can burn it, then we can take other options on that.
Burn it, we don't have mulch.
No, we won't have mulch, but
So we have to
I would
figure out-
like the mulch though, because it would help us, you know, and we would pay, and we will save us a lot of money as far as diesel and, or internal vehicles and taking it over to Edinburgh. And, so it's something that we can look at. As a matter of fact, I got some figures here as to how many trips it'll take us as far as what's there right now, Mayor. And, it's, something that, we can all, let's see here. Skip over, I'll come back to it, Mayor. I know it's here. Oh, here it is, Mayor. Here, I got it. Okay, here, what we have right now there at the landfill, we have approximately 7,000 cubic yards of brush. Of brush, and, well, we have some mixed brush with sometimes they throw iron or whatever it is with it, but that's what we have, and they're charging us 1.25 per cubic yard. And to mulch it, it'll cost us $87,500. Plus they charge us $5,800 for a mobilization cost, bring the materials over here so we can do the actual project. And it'll be a total of $93,000. If we, with a 40 cubic roll-off container, it'll take us 1,750 truckloads to dispose over in Hamburg. And the cost per disposal at $200 a load is $350,000. So I think it's a good investment to invest $130 and get all that, and we'll use it as a recycled stuff there. Also on the if we take the mulch over, it'll cost us if we haul over the mulch, it'll be 23,330 cubic yards of mulch. It'll take us 583 loads to dispose of it. At $200 a load, it'll cost us $160,000 if we go dispose the mulch over at the landfill. So really our total cost would be $350,000 by doing that. But if we keep the mulch and use it in our landfill, it'll only be, I think, $93,300. But then again, you know, I got this estimate maybe about 3 weeks ago, Mayor, so I don't know, it'll vary, you know, by here and then, but it'll be, you know, pretty much close to what we have.
can be burned if we choose to go that route?
I don't really know
I
that.
mean, of
Chief.
course, not the,
Well, he could just calculate what he's gonna spend on diesel from taking it from here to south of town.
okay.
Basically, that's gonna be the cost, and of course, the manpower, I mean, the driver. But, you know, I think, I know that we can clear quite a bit even if they give us a permit for a month, I think we can clear out some, but just brush,
We're about 2 miles away from,
all brush, no, you know, everything else
clean
can
brush.
be, you know, taken over there like old sofas or whatever they have, but just brush, I think we can put a good dent on that. Yes.
and, well, I'm requested a sweeper. And, I'm requesting also a dump truck for our patching crew. I'm also requesting a tractor shredder with a bucket, because we don't have a tractor. We borrow it sometimes from Parks and Recreation, and sometimes we borrow from utilities. And there's something I feel that we really need there at the department, where we don't have to be borrowing from the other departments. Sometimes they're using it, we have to wait until they're done using it. And that slows us down, and that backs us up a little bit also.
How often do you use it?
Pardon?
How often would you have to borrow it?
It depends on the demand, but we'd use them quite a bit. And I feel that we also need a backhoe, because the thing is, we have the drainage, Mayor, but we don't have the equipment to take care of the drainage. We have to borrow them from utilities. We don't have the equipment to do it, so I mean, you know, like, we know the issues, but we don't have the equipment to do it with. And that's why on our sweeper that I'm requesting, the sweeper that I'm requesting, Mayor, has a suction cup where it'll suck up the water from the inlets. Let's say we have a lot of rain and our inlets are full of water. We suck all the water out, or our culverts, for example, on East Minnesota, all the issues we had out there, this truck can just suck it up. But we're kind of like what the county was doing with over here, Las Brechas and Las Flores.
The sweeper can suck up the water?
Yeah, it'll pick up, it'll work like a regular sweeper. And then he has, as a matter of fact, I have it here. It's right here, and it has the adaptation right there where.
Pass that around?
Yes.
In tomorrow's budget, we're gonna discuss a possible funding through the bond issuance on some of these items, which is your front loader, which is your road patcher, and possibly the road sweeper. Possibly the only thing that we're gonna have to probably look at having a lease program or something like that will be on the sweeper itself only, because that's not part of the sanitation, right? That's what we talked about this morning. So, but we have that discussion tomorrow also. So the same discussion on the big budget items that they're asking for will be discussed as well in tomorrow's meeting.
Go up for bids for those?
Is there not a cooperative or a bi-board HCAC?
Because if this one is on the buy board, that would be the lowest we could get it?
They are on buy board.
Huh?
They are, I believe they are on buy board.
Government capital? Yeah. That's what we asked for,
Texas.
3, 5, 7 years. See how much it's gonna cost us. So tomorrow, even though the issuance of the bond is gonna be for a certain amount of years, we can still input this equipment there, but with less amount of years, But that's a,
Okay.
that's a discussion for tomorrow.
I also have the road patcher here, Mayor, but I think this will be for tomorrow.
We'll do it
Yes,
tomorrow.
yeah, we're gonna do
Tomorrow,
that
yeah.
tomorrow.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
we're gonna discuss this.
Really, I believe that's it, Mayor, as far as,
Mike, just to also, and just for budget purposes here, we increasing on the asphalt. We increased it we went from 75 to 100, 100,000, 150,000. But that also taken into consideration that, talking about the new equipment as well. So,
And that'll vary because on this road picture that I'll present tomorrow, Mayor and Commissioners, this machine doesn't use asphalt. It's just oil and the rock. It's a 1/4 inch to 3/8 inch rock. What he does, it'll clean up the hole, and then it'll spray in the emulsion, which is the oil, and then it'll blow in the pebble, and it'll stay hard. It'll harden up within 10-15 minutes. We saw it firsthand. Ex-Mayor Pro Tem Mando Garza and ex-Commissioner Eddie Suarez and Mario Núñez and I went and looked at these machines, and I think they're great. But also, I'm just waiting for to get feedback on how much the pebble costs and how much the oil costs.
You went to see it here locally? They're using it?
Yes, I'm calling here locally in Edinburgh for the oil and.
The machine?
Pardon?
The machine was.
Well, the machine, yeah, we can get it here through Peterbilt. They can bring it to us here, and as a matter of fact, the price that's there includes the freight and everything else. It includes everything, delivery and all. But like I said, like Chief was saying, it's going to vary on as far as the road improvement, because it'll vary as to what we're going to get, if we're going to get anything. So.
I'm going to make some comments on that. Probably one of the goals I didn't like is that we're increasing asphalt. We've talked a lot about streets, and we're going to have this talk tomorrow, so maybe this particular part of the budget might need to be changed, hopefully. I think that if we look at the amount that we're, and I think here you're just talking tons, you're not talking money. I don't know how much 100 of this 100,000 equates to money. Can you tell me, if you're telling me that coal mix is 100,000?
Okay, so far right now, we spent 48,500 more or less.
Okay,
around there.
So how much does that equate to, 100,000 in cost? 100,000 tons would be how much? I don't know, I mean, is it by the ton that we buy it?
We buy it by a ton. As a matter of fact,
So tell me, how much is it for 40? How much did it cost for 40 tons?
40 tons?
Yeah.
They charge us, I have that here, Mayor. I think it's, they sell it to us by the tonnage, and,
the ton like 5,000, 10,000?
no, a ton would be like six cubic yards of asphalt.
And what would that cost us?
That'll cost us about $400 some.
$400 for one?
For one load.
One load, which is 1 ton?
No, it's 6 tons.
6 tons, 6 tons, 6 tons, okay. At 400, right? Or 400 a ton. No, 6 tons for 400. What's the math on that, Commissioner Maldonado? You whipped that one up pretty fast.
I don't know.
Because that'll give us what I want to do is get to the math of it. And if we're 100,000 tons, and 100,000 tons would be.
I'll get the information for tomorrow.
One of the big factors there that, if I can explain, Mike, is the fact that every city is getting asphalt. So the asphalt has increased. So the number that we added there was because the projection that the price is going to increase because everybody's patching the roads. So that was a recommendation from our engineer saying that, you all need to budget this amount because the cost is going to go next couple of months or so. Next year is going to be exorbitant. So that's why we projected that. So it might be not the exact more or less tonnage that we're using, but the cost, we projected that the cost is going to go up like anything else.
Right.
The more there's a need for it, the higher the prices go up. So
But this is where I want to get to. And because numbers don't lie. And if we're going to, this coming year, by the grace of God and things go the way they're supposed to go, we will have taken care of Nolana, Sioux Road, Eldora, and Cesar Chavez, we still have to work on because it's not going to get done overnight. So 18 months of the environmental. 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 18 months of the San Antonio, because we are putting it in on our funding, right? So we know that some of the most problematic streets will be taken care of this year. And so we're anticipating, hopefully not this much. But what I want to see, and I'd like this commission to consider, is instead of investing it in this one, are we going to get a paver rather than a pothole fixer? And I'd like to see money put in capital improvements for every year for the streets. If we were to put in whatever this was, I don't know, I'm going to make up a number, 200,000, that it is per year. And we were to commit that 200,000 right now just for streets. We could actually go with 200,000 that would be put from just for streets, so that's what we know we're spending. We could get a paver to help us. We would buy the paver, the materials to begin to pave those streets which we can pave, or we could take 200,000 and actually put it into a certificate of obligation, and 200,000 a year could actually get us another $2 million. And I think that if we were to look at it that way, we could knock out more streets by taking that and put it into an investment of a certificate of obligation starting the coming year, because 200,000 could get us. Mr. Vela can speak to it tomorrow, that we could actually put that money away, borrow $2 million, knock out the worst streets, and because here we're doing an increase on asphalt, and I'm hoping that the increase is not more, because we're taking care of the worst streets. But this is the time to make that commitment to buckle down and saying, we're gonna fix streets. If it means we're gonna do a mile a year, or are we gonna invest this money that we're gonna set aside specifically so that we can get an issuance to do $2 million worth of work? Because in one neighborhood, it takes us about $1 million.
One of the things that we did, and I'm glad that you all brought it up, because we're already working on a plan. This morning we discussed the fact that Mr. Cervantes, you want to bring up what we discussed about the stormwater fee that we want to get from the actual fees that we're collecting already.
Yes.
And that we part to fund some of the equipment that we want to fund.
The thing is, like the sewer and the pothole machine, that cannot be funded by the sanitation fund. That has to be funded by the general fund.
Right.
Right?
Correct.
Something that could be done to finance it not from the general fund is to create a stormwater division. So the proposal will be, like right now, we pay $13 a month for garbage and brush, right? So the proposal will be to lower that $1, and then that dollar transform it into this stormwater. So the people will be paying the same. It's just we're splitting the money a little bit, creating this stormwater division. And then from that money, we could finance the sweeper and the pothole machine, because it's part of the stormwater pollution prevention program of the city. So that would be a way to finance those vehicles without affecting the general fund.
And how much do you think it generates with $1?
We have to run the numbers. It could be 50 cents, it could be $1.50. We have to run the numbers. But the
accounts that are being paid right now,
from all the residential accounts.
which is about 5,000, so it'd be a 5,000, about 60,000 a year.
That money could be used to finance these machines. So the people are paying the same in the water bill, but we're not impacting the general fund. It's coming from the sanitation. We're just moving that money.
So if we're a 60, then that would go towards, if we're leasing or paying a monthly yearly installment.
That would be part of the yearly leasing installment that we got to pay, and that can be done by city ordinance.
Yeah, it will be just a matter of amending the solid waste. So we will reduce the garbage and brush fee by whatever amount we need to change it, and then we will create a new fee for that same amount. So it's just a simple ordinance amendment, and that will allow us to create this new fund that could fund. Also, the person driving the sweeper could be funded from this new fund.
Depending on what you're gonna.
Yeah, if we have one person just driving the sweeper, that's all he does, then he could be paid from that fund.
I like the idea. I think that's a very good idea. I still want to dedicate money to streets. And I think if we can crunch some numbers by tomorrow, when we have this discussion, we can talk about actually putting a capital improvement plan to work, be it because we're going to dedicate it to paving an actual streets or to fund an actual issuance. But we have to do something. And I think in tomorrow's discussion, I'd like to be able to delve into that deeper. So if you can get some numbers, I like those numbers by tomorrow. When you're proposing the increases, I like to know what the price tag is to those. And then you should probably have record already how much you're spending on Eldora and Sioux Road and those real troublesome streets that our residents always talk to us about. So we'll know how much actually we're gonna be able to move into some other areas, or maybe save because this is happening, that we can now look at it in a different way. And one of the things that I remember we discussed as a commission when we had the issuance this past April that we approved was to get a paving machine. So hopefully that's a discussion tomorrow as well, that we've looked at them, we know what it's gonna cost to not just to buy it, but to make it work. And then I know I've spoken with Ms. Gonzalez several times on other alternatives and options that other cities are doing, so that we have a real good understanding that when we get that money that we've already allocated, we're gonna invest it in what's gonna give us the most return. But we need I like to see, and I think the commission would like to see the numbers, so we know what the investment needs to be.
I guess also, Mayor, in reference to the paver, you know, you're gonna also need a truck, obviously, right, to pull the paver, or trailer?
If we do buy a paver, we're gonna need a trailer to move the trailer. We're gonna need a truck to move the trailer.
And I know you're gonna need manpower as well.
Yes, and
to
also
to
if
run that
we-
full time. Am I right? Or-
Yes, yes, sir. And also, if we're gonna pave, we're gonna have to buy a roller, plus an additional trailer for the roller.
Package, I'd like to look at what the whole package is, what we're spending now. I think that's what you're asking for too, right? What the whole,
Yeah,
whole assessment operation would be.
Questions on streets and alleys? Okay, I guess go to Central Garage.
Central Garage, Mike, go ahead.
Central Garage is pretty much, okay. The only thing that I'm requesting there in capital outlay will be a tire changer. I checked today, we spent a little over $29,000, but that includes, the fleet and and some of our garbage trucks. I'm also requesting a $30,000 for tools for our heavy equipment, mechanics. What happens there, Mayor, they bring their own tools. And the thing is that I don't even know if their tools are safe. And sometimes if their tools break, I mean, we're gonna have to replace them, and I don't know if they're new tools or they broke them outside, doing outside work or whatever, but I feel that we need to provide the tools for our workers, and I mean for our mechanics, and we also need jacks for our heavy trucks. We need different types for the motors, for the transmissions, and they have to have torque wrenches and deep sockets and all that. So it's pretty pricey, but I think with $30,000 we can make a move on it, and then we start using city's tools. And also requested $20,000. See, we have two sides of the mechanics. One of them does all commercial and heavy equipment, and the other one does all the fleet and emergency vehicles. And there we have the same problem. They don't have sometimes they don't have the proper tools to use for the work that they're doing, and we have to borrow, like I'll normally call PSJ or I'll call FAR or whatever, to borrow the equipment that we need, and I feel that we need to start somewhere to where, we can start providing the tools and the equipment for our workers, for our mechanics.
Absolutely. I mean, it only makes sense that were happening, but I like to see how you keep inventory.
In that, that's including buying toolboxes with locks and then on there and have them be responsible for it.
Now, is there gonna be one person, designed to that
Yes.
box, or
No,
are
we-
the mechanics gonna have access to the
No,
box?
no, we're gonna have one, like on the fleet side, where we have our emergency vehicles and our regular vehicles, for all city vehicles, really, we do all city vehicles. I'll have Robert in charge, and he'll be in charge with the lock and everything, make sure everything's turning properly and clean on a daily basis. And on the other side, I'll have Hector Rodriguez. He's our main mechanic there, and make sure everything's properly maintained. Make sure the preventive maintenance on the tools, the cleaning, and all that. And like I said, we'll have toolboxes for all this.
Do we put serial numbers, or do we put a tag on all our
Yes, we do, Mayor.
equipment? And that gets,
Check off
Yes.
equipment?
No, we don't. We don't. And that's another thing, that some of the other departments come by and they borrow tools, and the thing is that they're not our tools. They're not the city tools. They belong to the mechanics. Sometimes they're not returned, or sometimes they're broken or whatever. So, these are issues that we really don't have to be going through. I feel that we need to provide these tools for our mechanics. And,
Manager, Ms. Carmen, she's gonna get, streamline all the assets that we have in place. So, what they do is that when we purchase new stuff, they send somebody go out there, and with Leroy as well, the personnel, they go out there and tag all the property. It belongs to us. So, but the protocols for prevention of any missing equipment, that comes from every department, to make sure that we audit it. And we just went through our audit right now, and we're still working on audit on equipment assets that we have in place to make sure that they're supposed to be where they're at. So, every department right now is being asked to do that. Carmen? So, we're working on that.
Also, Anthony from the police department and chief got us some tools from the surplus, and they're a big help because they're for heavy equipment. So that's really what our mechanics are using right now. And they also got us some toolboxes.
They were given to us by the court, and a lot of regular tools they use, so we went assigning to them.
but I think, Commissioner Maldonado, I think when you mentioned, is there a checkout, I think that's a very good idea. Is that something that's generated by policy or procedure, so that if we want to be able to provide the equipment if somebody needs it in a department,
Right.
but be able to know that it's in that department and needs to be returned, and then how often do we go back, the people that are in charge of that box, how often are we gonna hold them accountable? Because I would hate to do it at the end of the year, and now it's not here, and the other one that, I think we already moved away from it, but is those trash cans. I still asked the question, I still haven't gotten inventory. And, people switch accounts, and we've got numbers that say that's my can. And then it gets renewed, and we have to change that. And then what happens to those trash cans, and how do we check them off? And when do we, and surplus them, or whatever we're doing, because we're doing recycling, and we're doing, replacing, and all those things, and I've never had that answer.
Mayor, we already did that, so in fact, we just did it this past month.
We're pretty much
Commercial
done with all that.
accounts, everything's been up to par already. So we already accounted for all the accounts that we need to account for on the residential side and the commercial side as well. The commercial side, that's one thing when we're looking at the bids and stuff like that, but we already accounted for all of them. This past month, we did that.
And the residential?
We did everything's been accounted for. We did went back and audited everything to make sure that everything was being accounted for, and we just finished that this past month.
So my trash can that was taken away to get repaired, I haven't gone back. So my account is on that one or on the new one that I got?
Probably the new one, because
Utility billing prepares a work order.
Okay.
Replace. They're supposed to put that, and
don't remember.
Yes.
trash can, the number that they drop off, so that work order goes back into the week, and then they make the new number.
It's been a while, but I don't even know what the other one looked like. But when you get the other one for repair, see, that's what I'm asking. Am I responsible for that one that gets found, somewhere else,
No.
or,
Like Leroy is saying, Mayor, we get the work orders from City Hall.
right?
Okay, when we get them, we go out there, we put the bin or the container, And then if we switch it out, we put the new,
On our
number,
account.
right, on your account.
Okay.
That's the way it works. And we send it back to finance.
And then when you decide, when it gets fixed and it comes back to me, you switch it again? I keep the one that's my okay, then I keep what I have, because mine was being replaced.
Pretty much.
And on the
But see, I
average,
got a beat up one.
Okay.
So
I'll look into it
and that's
tomorrow,
fine,
Mayor.
that's fine, it's a trash
No.
can, but I'm saying that's the kind of thing,
Mayor, I don't even have a tapa on mine. I don't.
yeah, and you should, and see, we should repair
Yeah,
them.
these are things, you just report them to City Hall, they'll make a work order, they'll get it to us, and then we'll go out there and
And
take care
that's,
of
I
it.
think that's kind of what I understand, but my understanding to get a new, and I'm not saying because of me, a trash can's a trash can, but if we're trying to hold accountable for what we have, I'm still waiting for my to come back.
we do purchase, trash can every year we purchase. How much?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we ordered this year 200 containers.
Averaging 200 new accounts every year.
So mine's already probably been surplus.
So that's a lot.
Like, or used as parts for other, for other containers.
Anything else, Mike, Central Garage?
That's all, Chief.
Okay. Mr. Ponce, Parks.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the commission. Before I start on my capital outlay, I do want to say that I did not request vehicles for my one, because I'm more focused on personnel, but we do need vehicles. Our vehicles are, I think the newest vehicle I have is from 2008, and the crew does a very good job of maintaining them. Mike's people at the City Garage do a fantastic job of repairing them. We make do. We try to be as frugal as possible when trying to do the repairs. But there is a great need for us to get a few new vehicles in our fleet and retire some of those. The only reason I didn't put them in there is because my focus for this year's budget is more personnel. Now with the capital outlay for the parks, and I think in the spreadsheet that you have, there's an error there because I didn't request any personnel in the parks area. But for the capital outlay, I'm requesting for restrooms at Lions Park. Lions Park is where our parks office is at. It's probably the second busiest park we have next to Municipal Park. And we have a lot of activity there. We have some beautiful trees, mature trees that have been there for many, many years that provide a nice canopy, which, obviously with the summer heat, our citizens take advantage of. And it being adjacent to Austin Junior High, as soon as school's out, all the kids come over to play basketball. They toss a football around. So there's always a lot of activity there. Since we don't have restroom facilities out there, we let them use our parks office restrooms, which means usually from about, during the school year, from about 3 to 6 o'clock, or till 5 o'clock, or to where everybody's there, there's a streamline of people using the bathrooms because there's no facilities. It being one of our nicer parks and one of our larger parks, I had spoken with the chief and told him that I thought that would be a great, much needed asset, capital improvement project for that particular park. We're asking for $32,000, which is something that we had figured out with what was done, similar to what was done at the wetlands. And we with that money, just for a very simple, basic restroom facility, we think we could build that. There was a home that used to be there in that area. So my park superintendent informed me that we could easily tap into the sewer, into the water, to make it functional. And the chief recommended that we access the park development fund, which we have funds in, to fund that project, so it wouldn't come out of our general fund. Yeah. So that's the only request I have for our parks as far as capital outlay. For our municipal swimming. Yes, sir.
We do have another project that's coming out of the park development fund as well, right?
Yes, and we have and I actually put that under capital outlay for recreation. Right now, we only have one scoreboard that works at our baseball fields, so we want to purchase additional scoreboards. for the fields, for our other fields, which would be 2 fields at Municipal and 2 fields at Mayfield Park. One would be the original Mayfield Park baseball field, and the other one would be the newly, what they call the Desert Storm. It's yet to be named, but it's the field that we just put lights in, that we got the lights from Municipal Park. We want to put working scoreboards there, again, as a part of an improvement project. And also with meeting with the chief, we could access the Park Development Fund to purchase those scoreboards. And the scoreboards that are currently there haven't worked for several years. So we think it would definitely, we're trying to beautify our parks, so that would be definitely a nice asset to, and a nice touch to doing those. For the municipal pool, I submitted, and again, we were speaking with the chief and with Leroy, we submitted a budget that was similar to last year's. And that is because I'm still pending the report, which I should get this week from the engineer, the firm that did the study. We should have it sometime this week. Until we get that, we really won't have a compass to to tell us what direction we're going to go in. So once we do that, we can make the necessary changes to whatever budget, because most of it then will probably be shifted over to capital as far as improvement for construction. And I should have the report hopefully by the end of the week, which will be their deadline to, believe, it should be by this week or by Monday would be the deadline, to get that audit that they'll give us, which give us more direction and what actually we're going to do with the pool, with next year's budget, and of course, with this year's budget that we really haven't touched. So that's what I have the pool.
Do you have a sense of how much we have in the pool, not the pool, the, uh-huh?
67,000.
Yes.
Which covers both projects that we've done.
Okay. So if, whatever we're going to do would it be safe to say whatever we're going to do in the pool, it's going to be, we're going to have to go for some money because it's not going to
Yes.
get through 60-something. We don't think.
No, it wouldn't make it. Well, what we had discussed before was possibly using the existing budget for this year, and then doing it, phasing it out with next year's budget as well. Speaking to the engineer, he gave me some general ideas of what we could do. The most practical, feasible route, as far as cost savings, would be for us to build a pool within the current pool. Now, it would be it would be smaller than what's there, but because we need to extract all the plumbing, put new plumbing in, we need to resurface the pool, bring it up to code. He says that with the type of budget that we're looking at would probably be the most feasible option to do that. Now, again, it would be smaller, and we're trying to possibly develop a multi-purpose pool, which would be somewhat be recreational and still have a few for lap swimming and also for the classes that we do as well, with the integration of possibly like a splash pad as well, to do a splash pad, which is a little more cost efficient. I also asked that he keep in mind that we're on a limited budget for sustainability, because if we were to garner $500,000 to build a new pool, what does it cost to sustain a $500,000 pool? So that's also being taken into consideration. Right off the bat, when he saw the pool, he gave me a list of things. Okay, this has to go, and this is things that we would need to fix, and that was from his experience in working with other municipalities. Very common that they have an outdated pool that needs to be redone, and this is very expensive. So they do that concept where they build a smaller pool within the pool. So
correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Ponce, but how deep is the pool? About 9?
Yeah, it goes from, I believe, 4 to 9 feet, and actually,
in order to have a diving board, it's got to be, what, 12 feet?
11 and a half at least. Yeah, that's the first thing you told me, is the diving board's got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, we would have to make those changes.
And we wouldn't go, that deep as well, too, if you go ahead and minimize the pool?
No, he recommended that we do not for safety issues, liability, unless we have a diving team, which we don't. Yeah, and PSJ has a facility for that. But he recommended we do more of a standard pool, again, like a mix. I guess the thing that they do now is they kind of do that walk-in pool. You can put chairs, a little bit safer for kids, and then have the other half be like, again, build a few lanes for swimming lessons, and also for everyone who's doing lap swimming, things of that nature.
How deep,
4 to 5 feet at the most. Yeah, I think 4 feet is what he had recommended.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Yes, and again, he's gonna give us, like, I guess, those recommendations of what's the most feasible for our functionality.
Grants regarding, swimming pools, now with some of the requirement that we were informed that doctors are going to recommend as part of the, prescription for children, and I don't remember what the grade level was, 4 or 5?
It was 5th grade.
5th grade?
I think it was 5th grade.
Is going to be physical activity.
Yes.
So I think that because it's gonna become a federal standard requirement for doctors, that there might be an opportunity, because that's now coming, be required, that we might be looking at some monies that might become available. I mean, if we need to service our community, not just with parks, that, you know, swimming is definitely something that the children could engage in. So maybe we can tap into that idea or that mandate and find out if there's any way, maybe speaking with Chanel, to see if there's anything that's been created, monies that have been created because of this new mandate that we might be able to tap into.
Yes, Mayor, I've actually been working with Chanel, and we kind of met before the audit before we had the audit, and trying to see what options we have as far as grants, and she's still actively looking. There is the Texas Park and Wildlife grant that they do have a grant for swimming pools. Of course, the only thing there is there would be the time period. If we were to apply for the grant and get the grant, you're talking, you know, a year process plus then another year of until we build out. So that's the only downfall. And then, of course, for that grant, it would be a 50% match. So that's where the cost comes in. But we're looking at other alternatives, most definitely. We're looking to see what's she's very, very good as actively looking for anything that would fit for the parks. So, but I'll continue to look.
Sometimes maybe if the end result is 18-month wait, because you'll get a pool of $1 million, and we're anticipating $500,000. We still would do the $500,000, but get $500,000 more. So sometimes we may not get what we want immediately, but in the long term, if we were able to secure those types of funds, I'd like you to look into that, even if it's a long-term thing.
Okay.
Because the investment in today's dollars for tomorrow will make it go a longer way.
Yes.
But I think but let's look at that other. There is the city of San Antonio got millions of dollars on a health initiative that comes out of the White House, and I know that's still ongoing, and they've gotten real results. So we could visit with them in San Antonio and find out how they were able to grab that, and maybe we have a possibility of obtaining some of that as well on a health issue.
Yes, Mayor, I know they have actually free physical fitness classes for the city. The Parks and Recreation Department offers, like, there's their fitness initiative that they do, and through that grant money, they offer classes for anybody who would like to attend. So I just found that out this past weekend, but I'll definitely look into it. Yeah.
Mr. Ponce, I want to touch up a little bit on the parks as far as the lights issue at the municipal park. How are we tackling that?
With the lights issue, I had something that I originally had put in the capital outlay, but it's about, I think for both fields, it would be about $436,000. We removed it. The option that we had is something that actually Mr. Jaime had done last year, which would be like a leasing, to finance the lights, to finance them over a 10-year period, approximately paying about $40,000 a year. And that's one option that we potentially had, but again, there is a cost. I mean, that's something we could definitely revisit, but again, it would be going into an agreement where we would finance it over a 10-year period. That's
Paying for something that no longer is worth that.
yes, and again, there is grants out there for lighting, but there's grants that are specific. Like Major League Baseball has a grant that for parks, but they're very specific in the fact that the park must only be used for baseball. And like in our program where we do baseball and softball, we get more use out of the parks than just those particular sports. We'll do soccer practice, we'll do football practice under the lights that we have right now. So there would be limitations, and the Major League Baseball grant also is a 50% match. So yeah, it's very expensive. So we're still exploring options of, you know, what we could do. We've even talked about just maybe doing one field at a time, one field, and then tackling another field, as far as costs, you know, and again, looking for, you know, different, grant, you know, sources that maybe won't have as high of a match. I've even talked to Mr. Cervantes about, you know, looking for some experimental type of solar powered, you know, projects that are done that maybe could, you know, we could, similar to the green roof, where, you know, it's more experimental, and to kind of see the results that are yielded. We're looking into those types of alternatives as well.
Talk about grants and matching. Does each department set aside money for the possibility of getting a grant and having the match?
If we do have something projected with Chanel, I do ask her if there's something in the next 90 days, next fiscal year that's gonna be open up, and we do. And if there's nothing, then we,
okay.
Specifically, like the fire and police and the parks are probably the only three departments that project grants as we move forward. And possibly the planning and zoning department. So, but that's basically it.
Okay, because I mean, if that's a line item that needs to be developed, I think it's important, because if the money's come and that's the only opportunity and you don't have the money, we have to forego the grant. So maybe in this process, as we're looking at grants, a sit down with Chanel for each department that may identify something that you've seen that is within this next budget year, and make a big effort. Maybe it's choosing one large grant, because I would hate to give up the opportunity because we don't have the monies, and we do that all the time, because we don't have the money to be able to sponsor that. So if we can look at that now, because there's some line items you all have as miscellaneous. I've never understood. Nothing's miscellaneous. So some miscellaneous are bigger than other miscellaneous. So I don't know why you put them out as miscellaneous, but I like to be able to know that maybe that miscellaneous is something you set aside for. We really don't have cushion. So that might be the one that we're supposed to tap into. So go back. I don't know which one of y'all have miscellaneous, but I've seen that.
Everybody does, Mayor, because
Okay.
that's part of the risk purchasing, that's part of their protocol, their line items.
What do you consider to be what's the minimum that you gotta have as miscellaneous?
I'm not sure, honestly, I know in the past, they did have a miscellaneous line item.
Okay.
But they took, we don't.
It's
put
gone.
any money for
Okay.
it anymore.
Probably reading at the category miscellaneous, but it falls under memberships and subscriptions.
So when we do the general lines, it just says miscellaneous with nothing underneath? Okay. But, I mean,
On that, Mayor, on the grant matching funds, I think it's something that we need to, you know, and we do every year. We started doing it, looking at it, but I will get with Chanel on that to make sure that.
I mean, I think
if
this-
there's any project that, we did have one last year, that matching was $50,000, and it was a Parks and Recreation Department, but it was one of those grants that it was gonna be, whatever it was, paperwork, it was too fast approaching. That's why we're not able to do anything like that, but we can do something like that. We can.
and it might be policy, it might be a percent of what your budget is that gets allocated, so that when those grants opportunities, and we'll know by deadlines that we never met it, so then that money can, it's gonna be earmarked to move to something else because it didn't get met that year. But I, just kinda look at it, if we've, kinda be a little bit more proactive when it comes to the grant assessment.
Maintenance, Mr. President?
Yes, Chief, building maintenance, we're asking for capital outlay. I'm just asking for a pressure washer. The pressure washer would have multi-use for our custodial staff and our HVAC. We have one that Parks has, but it's already not in the best condition. So that's something that we're specifically asking for. I'm also asking for an extra custodial position. Currently at this time, we have 3 custodians, one HVAC person, and a building maintenance supervisor. We have 19 facilities that we clean, and I've spoken to Chief about this. With the lack of personnel, it really makes it difficult to service all the buildings to the level they need to be serviced. Specifically, like the police department, the fire department, the library. since we don't have the staff, my staff is gone by 6. And we don't have any, well, on the weekends, I have somebody that comes in for 2 hours. I got a call a few months ago from Captain Cáceres. There was somebody had made a big mess in the cell. And it was already later in the evening, but they thought we had somebody on call, but we don't. And we were trying to get a hold of somebody, we couldn't. Adding that additional person, it would give us a little more time on the weekends. I would do a rotating shift, and I would also have the ability to put somebody on call. Because there are times we would need somebody on call on the weekends or in the evening. I give you an example. Sometimes for the city commission meetings, I have to call somebody else to come in and lock a facility, and that's, it depends how late we stay. There's times when we have people that need to have buildings opened, and we got to call them from home and come open the building. And of course we have our special events. We have more traffic within our city buildings, but we only have those people that are committed for those types of services. And at this time, I think adding that additional person will give us some flexibility. It'll give us time to do more detailed work. It'll give us time also to identify problem areas that need to be serviced more often. I would really like to have somebody spend at least half the day just at PD and at fire, because there's so much traffic, especially on the weekends. It's that building is a 24-hour facility, and it needs to be maintained. So that's my request that I had for custodial, to have one additional full-time custodial person.
Is this a full-time position, sir?
Yes, we're requesting another full-time custodial person.
Should there be a minimal fee in the renting or using of this facility?
For this multi-purpose room, Chief? I'm sorry, Mayor, was that your question?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, we should have something for these rooms, but it's free for the nonprofit, for our nonprofit.
But I think it is, and we want to continue making it available, but if we want to defray the cost of, because we're having to have extra personnel because of it, something minimum for at least the supplies in which they use, because they have to clean it more often. And we're comparable to what other cities are doing. Maybe it's worth looking into to defray some of the cost.
We use a lot of their facilities. Obviously, we use their schools, playgrounds, and
at no cost. And it could be, it could be the fact that we're talking in kind. We're doing in kind because of the match. But anybody else that comes out, nonprofits and typically it's only nonprofits that come in here anyway. A minimum fee for usage, I think, would not be bad. If that's something that's protocol in other places, we like to do that. Not to deter them, but to just help some of the costs, because if that's what we're looking to do. maybe an assessment of what, how many times we use it and.
And I'll follow up with Mrs. Seen and with the Chief, Mayor and Commission. I do also want to add, just to give you an example, if I have somebody cleaning the building at 1 o'clock, you know, we're open till 5. That building will not get cleaned again until 1 o'clock the following day. It's just we don't have, you know, and our staff's on a tight schedule. So I think that it is definitely a need that we would definitely help. So, and that's all I have for building maintenance. The recreation side, I'm requesting personnel. For the capital outlay, I did request those scoreboards that I already mentioned. I am requesting an administrative clerk. The administrative clerk would service our office in a lot of different functions, very much like an office manager. I guess the idea that I have, which would be an administrative assistant, office manager type person, which would help us do, help us with our payroll, help us with our help us with a lot of our clerical work that needs to be done, a lot of our office work. We have under my area, we have the parks, we have the building maintenance, of course we have the recreation, and all of those have supervisors as well that are underneath my scope, and of course they all have their people. This person would essentially be that center that, you know, would kind of join the office together, and at this time, everybody has those duties kind of, you know, everybody takes a piece of those duties, for instance, payroll, again, doing our purchasing, doing our scheduling for some of the staff that we have, also doing our rentals as well, you know, and our budget also. I mean, our budget, I say we have 4 different areas, you know, reconciling our accounts, contacting vendors, getting quotes, working with our vendors. Those are all things that this individual could do, aside from our receptionists and the 2 individuals we have now. We have a high volume of phone calls throughout the day, and we have a lot of traffic come through our office as well. So this person would essentially be moved away from that front counter to be able to do that type of work, which I think would help us tremendously. And I've spoken with the chief about this since the first week I was here, that, you know, I think it would be ideal to have an individual like this to essentially kind of, again, tie all those offices and to be centralized, so we have better communication, we have better operations, and I think this individual that we would hire would alleviate some of the issues we've had in the past as far as communication, as far as making sure that we have our purchases, our purchase orders, all in line and in order. So, I believe I think it's 29. I need to do the count again, Mayor, but I think it's 20. I think it's 29. And of course, we have all of our seasonal employees, which we have 50, 60 seasonal employees. And that's my request as far as that administrative clerk. I'm also requesting that we have 2 part-time, what we call program assistants. I worked with Ms. Cordero. We came up with a title, program specialist. Essentially what it is they're part-time workers that help us out in our recreational programs. The way we do it right now is that we hire them temporarily. So I'll give you an example. We have football and volleyball coming up. We hire them at part-time for those seasons. The season ends, and then we let them go. And then 3 weeks later, 2 weeks later, we have to hire them again, or try to hire again for the next season that's coming up. And then that season ends, we let them go. And then a few weeks go by, and then we rehire them again. And what that gap does is that it really they're very, very critical in our operations, because they're one of our primary. They're our primary staff that are on the front lines. The people we send out, the people that are on our fields, the people that are dealing, with the coaches and the parents, and planning aspects. Having those people year round would help us tremendously as well, because we go into the planning process, we go into we go into operations, and they're gone, and then we bring them back in, and we have to catch them up, bring them to speed to get going. By the time we get them hired, the season's about to start. It's already starting. So that prep time, that preparation time, that planning time, I think is crucial that they be a part of that process, and also a part of the process to learn all the functions, of that particular sport that they're doing, get to know the coaches a little bit better, to get to know the parents. They're more visible, and also, for lack of a better term, they do a lot of this, I guess, grunt work, what you could say, where there's the setting up of our programs with the fields, doing inventory, helping with the registration process. There's numerous things that we have them do, and the way the system is set up now, we get them right when we're about to start, and we need them 2 or 3 weeks before we start. And that break, and sometimes we've lost people because there's a month break, and they need a job, so they leave. We let them go, and they'll find something else, and they'll just stay at a job that's steady instead of having that break. So we have a lot of good seasonal staff. I would like to take 2 positions and make them part-time for the whole year. So, and that's what I'm requesting for recreation. I think that would also definitely improve our operations, and it would provide consistency to our office with those individuals.
When you come up with the amount of pay, like I'm looking at the administrative clerk at $12 an hour, almost $13 an hour. All we're requiring is a high school diploma and a minimum of 2 years experience. That's a good paying job. And I guess when I think of reconciling that, I've got some folks that have worked with the city of San Juan for 15 years, and they're still at $11 an hour. How do we fix that? That was quick, right?
I know.
Comparability study that Yeah. we're proposing, it does take time, to reach out to other cities and that information to be able to get with the department and say, what is it that you need? What is it you need from your department? What kind of functions are you looking for certain positions? Some of these job descriptions are outdated, so that's going to be part of this process of not just the policies, but actually the job descriptions, getting together with the department heads. What is it that you're looking for in these job titles that you're seeking? Only they know what they need. So at this point, we're currently working with job titles that are in existence right now.
Other municipalities.
Municipalities or in our current classification and compensation plan.
It's a classification process. For example,
Administrative Secretary from the Fire Chief is going to be making less than a projected new position that we're going to put in a different division. So, so we're looking at the classification, but the thing is that because we classify it in a different way, because based on the comparative studies we do, then that position is going to pay that. That doesn't mean that this position will be here 4 or 5 years already and getting paid less, correct?
Yes. If you'll see, the administrative clerk makes 26, and my administrative assistant makes 25. Yes,
The assistant is what the fire chief has, and this clerk position it should be less.
Yes.
But based on the classification we're doing, that's why you see different numbers.
See, back in 2007 and 2008, we did a long, big exercise. And I don't know when it got dropped, but we had a great scaling. So you would be in one category, and you had the possibility of increasing in that. So you would always knew you had a scale to go up to. So that anybody who started in this level would never start at the same level as you did. And we had it really, it got documented, it got implemented, if you remember, and it really allowed that our folks who started at minimum knew that if we get past this grade because of experience and time, you have the possibility of coming out to the next grade depending on longevity with the city. Because and that kind of, and because of the long work that we did in exercise, it was going to become very, it allows you to keep the people who are good employees, loyal employees, and allows them to be moving. Because if you look at some of our employees, they've been with us and very loyal, hardworking, and they're stuck. And because they're only gonna move unless we do what? Give them a raise. And if we don't give them a raise, they're stuck. This allowed them to go up. And and I know that it took us, some people were bumped up because we did that scaling. But we implemented, and so when, I know that things change, but I find it very hard to tell, if someone who's been with us for 15 years, when they ask me, you know, are we gonna get increase, and I know we're hiring beginners may not be the word, but new employees at 12 who are just starting the city, and we have no hope for them.